Good morning. This is Deschutes County Board of Commissioners meeting. We're going to go a little bit backwards from what we usually do. We're going to do an executive session today, and then we'll go through the rest of the beginning of a meeting. So, Kim, if you can kick us off.
The Deschutes County Board of Commissioners will now convene an executive session pursuant to ORS 192.660. The specific authorization for this executive session is ORS 192.660 subsection 2E, which allows the board to meet in order to discuss real property negotiations. Designated staff and the media are allowed to remain during the executive session. However, the media may only report that the board met in executive session and the identified basis for meeting in executive session. Recording devices are not permitted. No final decisions will be made, and at the conclusion, we will open the doors and then invite the audience back to the meeting.
So, the public hearing for proposed text amendment could be as early as 10:15. If you want to follow that, make sure you don't wait till after that. It could be as early as 10:15. With that, we're going to go to an executive session, and I've just asked folks to step out for a few moments while we talk about a land use item. We're on a roll already. Okay, so it's 9:34 or so, and we've had an executive session on just discussions about land. So at this time, we're going to begin the meeting. So this is the Deschutes County Board of Commissioners meeting for 9 a.m. at 9:30 a.m. on October 22nd, 2025. First item on the agenda is Pledge of Allegiance. Please join me. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Little delay. Okay, so thank you. And at this time, citizen input for items that are not on the agenda. We do have a public hearing scheduled today, item number 9 for proposed text amendment. Is there anything else for public comment? And then commissioner announcements.
Yes. I would like to announce to the group that the Lower Bridge Rural Fire Protection Agency will be having a potluck this Saturday. Hopefully it won't be too windy and rainy. But anyhow, if anyone does live out in the Cloverdale Lower Bridge area and you're not part of that group, it would be really great for you to come and thank this group for all the work that they do. They actually are true public servants. They don't get paid for all of their incredible work keeping our community safe. So that's Saturday afternoon at 2 to 5.
Great, thank you. Any other commissioner announcement? Seeing none, for the agenda acknowledging, so item number 7 has been removed today. It was published, but it's not going to be discussed. And then also one of the policies are being presented on item number 8 today. So there was 3, I think. We're just going to be discussing one of them, just to confirm. So at this time, consent agenda.
So move the consent agenda.
Any other discussion? Just another thank you very much to the staff for putting the minutes together. It's amazing how we sometimes we stumble through a meeting, but then the words are the facts about what we said. And just want to thank for the professionalism putting the minutes together. Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Dare?
Yes.
Commissioner Chang? Yes. And Chair votes yes. Item number 6, public hearing considering amendments to the Deschutes County Code, Section 2.5 and possible action for ordinance.
Morning, Commissioners.
There
Dave
was
Doyle,
public
County.
comment. Was there public comment besides?
Oh,
I had asked.
do we have any public?
So yeah, I was
Related to the public hearing.
citizen input. Yeah, I started off with that. I was looking around the room. Did you put a piece of paper up here?
I think there is one.
Is this it? No name on that one.
Does it look like it's writing? It looks like it's writing. Looks like you're writing, Rhonda.
Is this referencing day 22? Okay, so you didn't put your name on it.
But we recognize
Okay,
you're right.
well, and as I say, I will acknowledge this, but as I said, I did. I asked the room for it. You still want 3 minutes? Please join us. Thank you.
Good morning, County Commission. I'm Rondo. I've lived in Bend for 35 years, and I'm gonna say something I never said in public before. I am a U.S. Navy veteran, but that's not the part that I've not revealed before. But in Bend for the last decade, I've been homeless and struggling, and I've really got to know this homeless community. The reason why I reference to day 22 is that a lot of us should know that Fox News is reporting that this is the first largest full shutdown in U.S. history. The thing is, I would assume that the connections that electeds have, that you all have with each other, one way or the other, is you have ability to communicate better than we have with you. So I'm going to just say what I see coming. I've understood that food stamp program is going to run out of money next month or December, and that's going to make your job harder. I hope you understand that. I think you see probably better what's coming than what I can see from my seat. But your job is going to get very difficult. The food banks, the need is going to start screaming. We're having budget issues today already. If we see, and I've been told from inside this building that we already going to have real tough times without this coming to day 23 and 24, 25. What's in our future here? It was fashionable to have strong opinions about certain things, complaining about how maybe food stamp money is spent, whatever. But this isn't really about food stamps, is it? I don't see us returning to values at all. And I don't think this county is going to see that at all. And those of you who have closer connections than those who have helped, let me just tell, oh, I'm over.
No, you got 40.
The captain of my ship said, hey, gave us a big speech about how everything that happens on his ship is his responsibility. Everything you do, it's his responsibility. And that's where we are today. I apologize.
Still counting down.
I didn't go over. Okay, well, I'm going to blather this morning.
Morning.
This speech that he gave me affected me for my whole life, and today is the day I remember that speech. The captain of the ship, it's his responsibility and his fault. And today's the day that we really need to start raising our votes. Not just you, but everybody sitting behind me as well, because we are headed for a huge crisis that we've never seen before. Thank you for your consideration and your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So as I mentioned, I did call for citizen input previously. So at this time, we're going to move on to our item here. So this is item 6, and public hearing will be part of this.
Thank you, Commissioners. Dave Doyle, County Council. This is the time set for a public hearing to consider amendments to Deschutes County Code 2.50, specifically addressing some lack of clarity that we had with regard to initiating certain types of dog board hearings, in addition to how we satisfy quorum requirements for dog board matters. We had a work session a couple weeks back. I don't know that there were any substantive questions at that time, but if there are anything at this time, I can certainly try to answer it. Otherwise, I'd ask that you open the public hearing and call for any testimony.
Right. Any questions on this matter? So, as I say, I was able to review it, and it's just there's definitely proposed changes here. It kind of rolls as we've been doing business. I guess I have no more comments at this time. So, seeing other comments, I'll open the public hearing on this matter. So this is an amendment to Deschutes County Code Section 2.50 and possible action by ordinance. Is there anybody to speak on this matter? This is regarding dog board hearings, making sure people are up to speed on the topic. Is there anybody remotely with a raised hand feature? Okay, seeing none, we'll close the public hearing on this matter. So it's been open and closed. Any other discussion or presentation?
I think the staff memo was pretty clear on how these changes will improve our dog board hearing process, and I'm supportive. We should note that we have a lot of dog conflicts, dog animal conflicts, dog human conflicts in our community, and I want to express great appreciation for all of the folks who serve on our dog board over time. It's a very challenging place to be in the middle of these conflicts, and we all owe a huge debt of appreciation to the folks who serve on our dog board.
And just acknowledging, these are changes, clarifying quorum and members of the board. So talks about no less than 3 and no more than 5 residents to be on the board. So when you say just 5 residents, if somebody's not on the board and we're recruiting for the next one, there's only 4, just a little bit of real clarity on the legality of when we have a quorum of that entity that represents us. Especially, dog board can be the most emotional, heart-wrenching moments for a family dog in a livestock situation. I want to thank the dog board people that have been involved for their service for the community. So any other discussion?
It's it's so appreciated, people that do serve on the dog board. My husband just met someone who had had their finger reattached from a dog bite Saturday night. And, it seems like our cases have gotten incredibly complicated, and I appreciate legal going through and clearing up some of the gray area in our code. I think it's clearly timely, and, for all those range-free chickens that are out there that are getting attacked, definitely we're in a challenging time, and people do love their pets.
So at this time, it's proposed to be moved by emergency. If there's support for that, we can do the first and second reading today and adopt these changes.
So I move approval of the first and second reading of ordinance number 2025-019 by title only.
Second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes. At this time, this is first reading of ordinance number 2025-019, an ordinance amending Title 2.50 Board of Supervisors of the Deschutes County Code. This will be second reading, ordinance number 2025-019, an ordinance amending Title 2.50 Board of Supervisors for the Deschutes County Code.
Now I'll move emergency adoption of ordinance number 2025-019 to take effect immediately.
I'll second the motion.
So just comment on that, moving by adoption does make it go into effect immediately. And as I say, the definition of an emergency here is just, it'd be awkward to have that open window of time where the definition of 3 to 5, if there's 4 on this board, could be debated in just a short window of time there. So I do support the emergency declaration. Any other decision or discussion? I see none. Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes. Thank you so much.
Hey, before you take off, can I just ask a question? Do all counties in Oregon have a dog board? Is this how all the other counties handle, a dog conflicts and challenges?
I want to say yes, I'm not positive. If you're a dog control district, then statutorily, either the county commissioners serve as a dog board or you appoint one. You might recall I've counseled all 3 of you over the years that my experience as county counsel says the 3 things commissioners don't want to directly be involved with. One of them includes dog matters. So I believe all the counties that have a dog board, that are a dog control district, have a dog board apart from the county commissioners themselves. They're very difficult hearings. I've tried many cases in circuit court, other courts. I can tell you, both as a prosecutor and as a civil attorney, dog board hearings could be every bit as emotional and complicated as any of those cases that are tried in a court in front of 12 jurors or somebody in a black robe. And it's a thankless position for these folks that do the dog board. I just can't, thank them enough. And, we've had dog board members threatened in the past because, this is a pet, right? Never mind that it, might have ripped someone's arm off. It was a pet. And it's part of the family. And any of us that are dog owners, are aware of that. I mean, I don't let my dog walk down to the mailbox with me anymore for my fear he might do something stupid and he'd have to be put down, and that would sort of be on me. So I don't let him walk to the mailbox, and he used to love walking to the mailbox with me. But there's too many things. I've, been staffing dog board for 31 years now, and the scenarios, you can't write some of this stuff that happens. And so, and the dog board folks have to deal with it. They have to process it all. It's a very public process. The hearings are public. And they're a special group of people that are willing to get engaged. And they all love dogs. They all love animals. sometimes they have to make some real tough decisions and put dogs down, or have them adopted out from the family that they've been in. So yeah, you have an impressive group of folks that have volunteered on your dog board. Always been very impressed with them.
And I know one of the concepts here is, 100-year history. It used to be a domestic animal and the neighbor's livestock. It was a sheep or an aggressive dog torturing a young cow or a calf. And the scenarios are very different now, though, too, because it is a family dog on chickens or human interaction. So it's even different from what the vision was 100 years ago.
Well, the neighbor's dogs killed my lambs one year
See.
when I had a,
But that's livestock agricultural loss.
I know, but
Different than.
I didn't, I just was sad. I didn't realize I could do anything, but my husband actually was bit by a pit bull on property and with permanent damage. So it went way beyond the dog board. And then that dog bit, the dog was not put down, and then the dog bit somebody else. And then that was the end of that
Yeah,
dog.
That's the hard decisions.
Yeah,
Okay, well,
but this was way beyond dog boards.
thank you very much. Good discussion. So as I mentioned, item 7 has been removed today, just not ready at this time. So then item 8, we are just going to look at F3 purchasing card policy. So just one of the items. Had to find it in the list of items. So because there were some other HR policies proposed here also. And as I say, this was right on the edge of a work session item. We might have talked about this on Monday if we had a meeting. We just had other actions. So, but this one's ready to go, it sounds like.
Morning, Commissioners. For the record, Robert Tintel, Chief Financial Officer.
I'm Heather Haroff, Procurement Manager.
As mentioned, today we are here to discuss a revision in policy F3, purchasing card policy. The packet does include other HR policies, but as you mentioned, we won't be discussing those today. So we are seeking a recommendation and authorization for the county administrator for his signature on the proposed policy updates as are presented in the packet, and I will summarize those as well today. Policy F3 was last revised and actually adopted in September 20th of 2017. So as part of our ongoing effort to update our finance policies, and we are updating our P-card vendor, we also thought it's appropriate to revisit our P-card policy and update it, modernize it, and ensure it's in compliance with today's practices. So in summary, the P-card policy includes the following updates. It allows for individual cardholder P-cards and P-cards purchasing cards. P-cards is a short for that, if I use that term as well. And purchasing cards are, again, just similar to a credit card from a bank. However, purchasing cards for governments, businesses offers additional controls, internal controls, and we have a lot of stop gaps that we can put in, controls that we could put on cards based on transaction limits, other limits. We can make those changes live. We can set merchant codes where you can only use a P card, purchasing card at a certain type of store. So there's a lot of controls we put on those. And this is similar to what a lot of organizations, government organizations use. So it also clarifies our policy. We're expanding the definitions, provide clarification and responsibilities for cardholders, department custodians, reconcilers, department users, and approvers. So the full lifespan of the P card. So we're ensuring we have proper controls at all levels of the process. We're removing the ability to obtain and use store-issued credit cards, as this will be our mechanism for record for using credit cards. And it allows the P-card administrator or the procurement manager, which is Heather, or designee to approve P-card limits up to 25,000. Right now, the CFO has the authority to approve P-cards, but as these become more routine and part of our payment process, it makes sense that the procurement manager who's in charge of the P-card program could approve transactions up to 25, and I would still have approval for those over those amounts. One other item is we actually have two policies called F3. The second F3 policy was specific to the sheriff's office. It's for sheriff's office county issued credit cards. That policy was issued in March 19th of 2007. So a long time ago. That policy is redundant, not needed. Our P card policy covers everything in that sheriff's office one. Heather has communicated with the sheriff's office. They don't need that separate policy. Our policy covers it. And if there was anything special that they needed, they would just include it in their general orders. So we are, as part of this, also removing the duplicative F3 that was just carved out for sheriff's office back in 2007, but we no longer need that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a high level overview of the policy changes. You do have the red line version in front of you and the clean version as well. And we're here if there are any specific questions on our policy.
Any questions or thoughts? And the proposal is for authorizing county administrator signature on this update.
No questions or thoughts. Makes sense to me.
So the other three impacts that we're not seeing today, are we seeing them next week? It seems, I just wonder why that was pulled.
The policies were not hearing today.
They're continuing to work on, there are some outstanding questions that came on those. So they're just clarifying it before we bring the policy forward for final approval. They're just addressing some last minute questions or issues that came up. So they will be coming forward because we do want to move those forward.
So the HR policies and you're as the management level, you're seeing that as the group also, right? I mean, for you to be able to speak on that subject,
Yes,
I'm just wondering.
correct. That also went
Yeah.
to the Policy Advisory Committee, right?
Yep, that's what I was wondering. Yep.
That group of policies did go before the Policy Advisory Committee and to all department heads. And it's additional questions that come
Yeah.
up. So that's why they're postponing.
So either we'll see that in a work session for introduction, or if it gets real mature, we'll bring it back to a board meeting.
Correct. Yes.
Yeah.
Because typically we are trying to group policies together and come to the board quarterly. However, this one we still wanted to move forward. So we decided to move this one forward and not the others. And just as final last comment, as a reminder, if the commissioners, you're also eligible to apply for a P card, use a procurement card. Instead of it, just like every other employee, you don't have to front funds on your personal credit card. You can use the county P card and submit your receipts along with that as
Yeah.
well. It's open to all elected officials and employees as well. And Heather can provide additional information on that if
There we
you
go.
can contact her if you have questions.
So one of the values I'm thinking is the fact that the P card transaction activity is kind of automatically plugged into the budget categories and items, right? I mean, I got to imagine that's what's going on here. You know, as anything is being transacted, it kind of automatically gets categorized to the budget.
There is an upload process and staff have to still code it, but it does get in, yes, into the system.
Yeah, okay. Great.
So Heather, what exactly could we buy with our P card? I mean, we're only allowed so much when we eat out. And so if the P card was a meal, it couldn't be a meal purchase then, could it? No. Okay, so what am I going to buy then? A new horse trailer or something? I mean, yeah.
No horse trailers.
Yes, I know. I mean,
Some of the things we're anticipating people can use these for is when they're traveling on county business. So if you're going to a conference and you need to put a card down for your hotel.
but there's all these limits though. And, you know, on hotels, depending like in Salem isn't even on the list of a lot, you know, the price in Salem goes to the general, whatever it is, room charge allowable. Whereas Bend, it's like a couple $100 it's allowed per the state. So, you know, what are you going to do about the difference?
Well, you would be, I think when you're booking your hotels, we would look at the per diem rates for those and trying to stay within those. I believe that if a hotel is over per diem, that you can get authorization from your supervisor or director to go over that, correct?
I used to actually pick up the difference personally. And then Nick it was a Grand Hotel, and Brenda is fabulous at getting me the best rate possible. But I know I used to pick it up personally because their Salem, they don't have their own per diem. I'm like, really? It's the state capital and there's no per diem there? So,
We'd follow the state or the county, through the per diem. But we did update our travel policy well earlier, and there are exceptions. For example, if you attend a conference and the hotel that's hosted by the conference, even if it's higher than their per diem, it is approved per our new policy in that regard. So, or again, there's the exception that now it's the department director can approve the exception above that rate when it's for obviously county business.
right.
And it's the sponsored hotel. So there are some exceptions to that. And obviously, employees, when they're purchasing supplies in the daily transactions, there's a lot of number of transactions because it's actually more cost effective to run payments through a P card process than it is an actual check and, the reconciliation and that the process there.
Okay, is there a motion for?
I'll move authorization of county administrator's signature on proposed policy update F3 purchasing card policy as presented by staff.
I'll second.
Any other discussion? Seeing none, Commissioner Chang,
Yes.
Commissioner Dare,
Yes.
and Chair votes yes. Thank you so much. At this time, item number 9, public hearing proposed text amendment to allow recreational vehicle parks as a conditional use in Tumalo Commercial District. And yep. So thank you for signing up. The blue form is to request to speak on the matter, and I've got a few requests already. Thank you.
Oh, and I heard we won on the psilocybin. Did you know that? Yes. Thank you, Audrey.
Oh, yeah, sure. Thanks, Audrey.
Oh, this helps a lot.
So this is the time and place set for a hearing regarding file number 247-25106TA. This is a hearing on a proposed text amendment. Staff will outline the hearing procedures that will be followed.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, my name's Audrey Stewart. I'm an associate planner with the Deschutes County Planning Division. Today, the Board of County Commissioners will take testimony and receive written evidence concerning a text amendment to the Tumalo Commercial District. And I'll ask you to bear with me for 1 second. I do have some slides I'm going to pull up for us. One minute.
So yeah, this will be hybrid, so there will be remote testimony available.
Thank you, Commissioners. Today's hearing will proceed as follows. Staff will explain the hearing format and how to testify. This will then be followed by a brief presentation on the application. Then we'll move into the testimony portion. The applicant will present first and we'll have 30 minutes. Then anyone in support can testify and we'll have 3 minutes. And then those in opposition will be able to testify and we'll also have 3 minutes. Afterwards, the applicant will have 10 minutes for rebuttal testimony and staff will make any closing comments.
Excuse me, Commissioners, there's been a request by the applicant's attorney that we hold off on the agenda item until 10:15 as
That's when it
Okay.
posted.
listed in our agenda. So I don't know if we're willing
And
to
that's
take a
fine.
break.
I mean, I support that. So, as I say, there was a discussion right before the top of the hour at 9 o'clock. People were asking, when's this going to be? So I'll acknowledge that this is going to be a topic of interest. And it has been published for 10:15 a.m. start. We did just get rolling to the next agenda item, which put us here. So But with that request and acknowledgement, we're going to stand by for 12 minutes to that 10:15 published time. So we'll call that a break, and we'll see that as a on our Zoom call. It'll say whatever on break or whatever it says. Thank you. And then, we'll start at the top of the script again. So we'll just kind of start the whole thing over here just because it'll flow real well here also. So if this is the restarting of a item for 10:15 here, find the agenda. Item number 9 on our published agenda for 10:15 a.m., public hearing, proposed text amendment to allow recreational vehicle parks as a conditional use in the Tumalo Commercial District. And we are going to proceed with a script, and I'll start at the top again here just to make it all fit together well. This is the time and place set for a hearing regarding file number 24725-106TA. This is a hearing on a proposed text amendment. Staff will outline the hearing procedures that will be followed. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. For the record, my name's Audrey Stewart. I'm an associate planner with the Deschutes County Planning Division. Today, the Board of County Commissioners will take testimony and receive written evidence concerning a text amendment to the Tumalo Commercial District. Today's hearing will proceed as follows. First, staff will explain the hearing format and how to testify, followed by a brief presentation on the application. Then the testimony portion will begin. The applicant will have 30 minutes, followed by those in support, which will have 3 minutes each, and then those in opposition will testify and will also have 3 minutes. Afterwards, the applicant will have 10 minutes for rebuttal testimony, and then staff will make any closing comments. This is a hybrid public hearing with both in-person and remote participation. Before starting your testimony, please provide your first and last name, as well as your mailing address. For our in-person participants, if you wish to testify, please fill out a blue sign-in sheet and submit it to the board's executive assistant. Chair DeBone will call up in-person participants for their testimony. After your name is called, please come up to one of these tables here in the front of the room before beginning your testimony. For our remote participants, if you want to testify, you must be logged into Zoom or have called in using the Zoom dial-in option. When Chair DeBone asks if anyone would like to testify, you will need to use the raise hand feature to notify the board. To do this, you need to press the raise hand button on your computer, or if you've called in, dial *9. When it's your turn to provide testimony, you'll be promoted from an attendee to a panelist. You may experience a brief pause as your status changes. Once you have joined as a panelist, you'll be able to turn on your camera if you would like to. In addition to oral testimony, if anyone has written testimony to submit, please hand it to me. If you're in person, please submit your written testimony to me after your oral testimony. If you're participating remotely, you can submit your written testimony via email to audrey.stewart@deschutes.org. The chair and staff are responsible for conducting an orderly hearing. Any testimony or behavior which is inappropriate will be addressed and may result in that member of the public being removed from the hearing. Chair, I will now return to the script and note that the commissioners must disclose any ex parte contacts, prior hearing observations, biases, or conflicts of interest.
Does any commissioner have anything to disclose? And if so, please state the nature of same and whether you can proceed.
I have nothing to disclose and I can proceed. I will say that we've had a lot of confusion about whether this is a quasi-judicial or a legislative matter that's before us. So, that affects how much we can talk with people about it. So if it's a legislative matter, then it's our job to talk with everybody and anybody about a matter. And if it's a quasi-judicial matter, it's our job to not have ex parte communications with people before the hearing.
So which one is it, Audrey?
It meets the definition of a quasi-judicial amendment, and so this was outlined in the hearings officer recommendation. So there's basically a 3-part test and case law that he applied, said this meets the definition of a quasi-judicial amendment. He did note it has kind of qualities also of a legislative amendment, but that we are following the process for a quasi-judicial text amendment.
Okay. So I'm in Tumalo, I would say almost every day. And I know a lot of people that live in Tumalo, and I saw that 62 people were actually opponents of the legislation, I believe, or the quasi judicial hearings officer. So I know a lot of people that are not happy with this, and I've been hearing from those people for months. So I'm just saying, it's my responsibility to be as fair and biased, but I appreciate you bringing the map up with actually what the property is now, the 5.8 acres, because in the packet, it wasn't, you couldn't clearly tell what was on the land. So, and then my other question was staff. Who does that mean when it's in the packet? So there's a lot of details here that I've tried to look at as closely as possible. And according to my conversation this morning with Stephanie Marshall, our legal counsel, staff can mean her also, but it should be identified. It should say legal and CDD staff together concur that, I think that would make me personally feel a lot better that trying to be as fair as possible.
Thank you.
So it's a very complicated situation for my life.
And any emails that the commissioners have received that they've forwarded to me have been added to the public record. So I would definitely encourage commissioners, any messages that you're receiving, I can add those to the public record, and then they're part of this review process and everyone has a chance to see those.
So for disclosures for myself, I knew this was coming. I was looking at it in a focused manner yesterday, or 2 days ago, riding by on a bus, in fact, with the governor tour. I've, been in the area. We've been in a partner trying to work through sewering of commercial on the other side of the highway. I've been into these shops over the years. So these are just disclosures. I don't think there's anything here that's going to conflict me for being able to hear this matter. So just, there was a previous marijuana application out there, so we got real focused on this property in the past. So I've been through all that. So that's for disclosures and discussion. Does anyone, let's see. Does any party wish to challenge any commissioner, a member of this hearings body, based on ex parte contacts, biases, or conflicts? So this is our procedural moment, making sure people are comfortable with what's going on here. Is there anyone online with the raised hand feature? And as no challenges are presented prior to opening the hearing, does anyone have any procedural objections to this public hearing as it's happening? Anyone online with the raised hand feature? Seeing none, the hearing is now open and staff will proceed with a brief staff report on the topic.
Thank you, Commissioner. The applicant proposes amendments to Chapter 1867 of Deschutes County Code to allow an RV park as a conditional use in the Tumalo Commercial District. The applicant proposes siting standards, which would require an RV park to be sited on a lot or contiguous lots under common ownership, which abut Highway 20 and are 2.3 to 5 acres in size. Currently, Section 18-128-170 of Deschutes County Code sets out the standards that apply to all RV parks. The applicant proposes to modify the wastewater and road access standards and proposes to establish quiet hours. These changes would only impact RV parks in the Tumalo Commercial District and would not change the standards for RV parks in other zones. I want to note that this proposal doesn't approve an RV park on a specific property. There is one property that would potentially be eligible for an RV park under the proposed code language. However, any future development would go through a property-specific review and would require applications for a conditional use permit and site plan review. This application is being reviewed through a quasi-judicial process. There was an initial hearing before a hearings officer on June 16th, and his recommendation was issued on September 3rd. Because this involves an amendment to Deschutes County Code, it requires final action from the board. At a meeting on September 3rd, the board voted to hold a de novo hearing, which is what we're here for today. 76 comments were submitted leading up to that initial hearing, and in the subsequent open record period, 36 written comments were submitted. Since the hearings officer recommendation was mailed out on September 3rd, I've received 33 additional comments.
And these are all separate people, correct?
Oh, no, that's a great question. Right now, my mailing list has 96 entries on it. I do want to note it's not a perfect number. There might be, for example, a married couple that shares an email address and submitted a letter together, things like that, but about 96 people.
And I do want to comment that this is another hearings officer was not present in the room. And when are we going to be able to change that? Anyway, it's a totally separate issue, but I'm really, every time I hear about this, I feel really badly for our citizens. You would have had to drive by Tamalo on the way here, perhaps. Yeah. It's not your fault, Audrey.
The general themes of these comments are summarized on the screen here. They include impacts to surrounding residences, increased traffic, lack of infrastructure, conformance with the Tumalo Community Plan, and impacts to natural resources. The full record for this application is available on the project webpage, and I've included a link here in my presentation. There are several steps the board may take at the conclusion of today's hearing, and I've outlined them on the screen here. And with that, I'm available for any questions or discussion from the board.
So I'll just, a couple thoughts, this is a text amendment request, acknowledges a quasi judicial process. And as I say, we're taking the procedural steps through this quasi judicial seriously today. So just acknowledging that as a starting point. This is a public hearing, but
Yeah, I mean, before people start to provide us with public comment, I want to make sure that it's clear what we're doing today and what we're not doing today. And Audrey, you can elaborate on this a little bit, but we are not approving a specific RV park development today. We are considering an amendment to our code to make RV parks allowable in the Tumalo commercial zone. So the distinction there is that, if we do a text amendment and make this an allowable conditional use, there will still be a conditional use application submitted if anyone actually wants to develop an RV park. And many of the concerns that people have shared with us can be addressed in a conditional use application review process. So that there would be that's a whole separate decision and approval process for an actual development versus changing the code to make something potentially, an authorized land use or not. Audrey, could you kind of
No.
fill in on that if I didn't do a good job of explaining it?
No, thank you, Commissioner. That's correct. So this is what's before the board today is just these amendments to the Tumalo Commercial District. It doesn't approve an RV park on a specific property. As you said, there would be, if this was successful down the road to develop an RV park, someone would come in with a really site-specific proposal. And so there'd be an application for a conditional use permit, which has a compatibility analysis, and then site plan review, which really looks at kind of site design and layout.
Can you just speak a little bit about what that conditional use application process looks like and the opportunities for public engagement during that process?
Yeah. So when an application is submitted for something like this, we send out a notice of application. In this case, it would go to all property owners within 250 feet of the subject property. It would let them know that this was submitted. Anyone can submit comments whether or not they received that notice. And then once a decision is issued, there is a 12-day appeal period. After assuming that a staff decision is issued, there's a 12-day appeal period. And again, anyone is able to participate in that.
Thank you. And I guess maybe one more thing. So what kinds of conditions might people kind of raise concerns about in a conditional use application process?
So comments are most helpful to staff when they're directed at specific approval criteria. So for example, our conditional use standards are in Chapter 18-128 of our county code. It looks at whether the site is suitable for the proposed use based on existing surrounding uses, as well as the factors of the site like size, slope, things like that. And so really, but we don't kind of limit what people submit comments on. So for example, even if comments came in that are general, just saying they don't want this application, we still upload to those to the record and consider them as part of the application.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions? Seeing none, time for the applicant, and we'll start a process here. So 30-minute applicants, and then the testimony supporting, neutral, or opposed. Good morning.
Happy Wednesday.
Good morning, Commissioners. Adam Smith, Robbie Williams, and Wyatt. 360 Southwest Bond Street, Suite 500, Bend, Oregon, 97702. A couple of preliminary matters. We do have a PowerPoint presentation. My colleague, we were instructed that the easiest way to present that is to have my colleague be elevated so she could share her screen. But before we do that, a couple of preliminary matters.
Grab the mic a little closer, please, just the way it works. Thank you.
Is that better? Perfect. Before we put the presentation on the screen.
So yeah, he was asking about the
Who's the
presentation.
person who he's elevating?
Taylor, if you can raise your hand.
There you go.
Go ahead.
Couple of preliminary matters, and then my client would like to say a few words, and we'll jump into it. First of all, thank you for delaying till 10:15. As the commissioners are well aware, we are self-interested in a nice, clean process. There's been a lot of awkward moments that we've had to work through on this particular application. Confusion on both the process and the substance of what we've submitted. So also, thank you, commissioners, for helping clarify what's actually in front of you today. And then there's still some confusion on a couple points. I would say even some disagreement on how our project was presented this morning. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of leeway on the time limits. I mean, I need to spend about half of the time just fully explaining what we're proposing. So if we take extra time, we would recommend that, you just provide the same latitude to anybody else presenting. I think it's important that we take our time to actually put on the table what is being proposed so everybody can comment on the same thing. So with that, I'll turn things over to my client, Joel Giesler. As I said, he's got a couple of things he would like to state, and then I'll start off with the presentation itself.
Well, so I'll just acknowledge time is just proposed situation here. 3 minutes is a lot of time if you're organized and you have statements to say. You're requesting 30 minutes, may be tight for what you want to present today. And I'll acknowledge that. I've been up here a few times during these things, and you can tell when it's just kind of rambling on or the statement's been said.
I would encourage you to tell me if I'm rambling.
There you go.
Move through it as quickly as I can. We have definitely put together what I would consider a very concise topic, but there is a lot to cover.
Understood.
And you can also flag for us things that you don't think are going to fit within your 30 minutes, but you'd like us to ask about. Then if we ask a question that's on our time, that's not part of your 30 minutes.
Thank you, Commissioner.
If I can just share that Eric Brion is keeping the timer on his phone, so he'll let us know when the 30 minutes, just so we have that sense of what that time is. Thank you.
All right. My name's Joel Giesler. My mailing address is 1470 Northeast First Street, number 600, Bend, Oregon 97701. I want to say good morning to the commissioners and others in attendance. I would like to introduce myself. I am Joel Giesler, the applicant to the text amendment for your consideration. I want to show my support for the text amendment and the hearings officer decision to approve this text amendment. I have lived in Bend for over 55 years. During this time, I graduated from Bend High School. Following graduation, I attended Central Oregon Community College. Along with my core studies, I was a member of the cross-country ski team. I have raised my children in Bend, and during their informative years, they were active in Deschutes County fairs showing horses and dogs. I also purchased animals at the auctions. They were also members of the Redmond High School equestrian team. I also have a grandchild that is being raised in Bend, making her the 4th generation to live here. I've been very active in the business community through my various development projects, which I began in 1985. These projects consist of subdivisions and multi-tenant buildings, which have various uses such as office, retail, and industrial. The subdivisions I developed consisted of mainly city lots or houses, and they were located in Deschutes County, also in Redmond, Lapine, and Bend. Many of the commercial buildings I still own. Some of the most notable businesses that were started in my properties include Bend Distillery and Kabucha Mama, which later became Hum, and specifically the Tumalo property were the Furniture Outlet and Breedlove Guitar, of which we added an additional 4,000 square feet to accommodate their growth. This was done in 2002. A brief history of the property in Tumalo is a 5-acre parcel with a 10,000-foot building and a newer 4,000-foot building. The Gieslers purchased 5 acres and 10,000 square foot building in 1986. In 1987, we received site plan approval and a conditional use approval, and in May of 1988, received conditional use from Deschutes County. With these approvals, I was able to create a usable building that has been and still is home to multiple businesses. In 1993, I purchased lots 1, 2, 3, block 33 of Laidlaw from Deschutes County. And this is kind of interesting. This was done via a live auction on the grass area south of the courthouse, which is how they used to do that. And then in 2021, I purchased lots 4, 5, and 6, block 33. Through my years of residing in Deschutes County, I've watched the continued growth and the needs of our area, particularly the need for RV park outside urban areas, which the Deschutes County hasn't seen a new one in many years. I have confidence that the text amendment I have proposed will be the first step to creating a needed RV park close to Tumalo State Park with access to Tumalo State Park, and will be an asset to the Tumalo area and Deschutes County. I appreciate your time and the hard work the hearings officer and county staff has contributed. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Giesler? Okay. Taylor, can you, next slide, please? So starting in, what are we actually proposing? What are we trying to do? First of all, I want to clarify, we are not adding RV parks as a conditional use to the Tumalo Commercial District. RV parks are already allowed with historic limitations in the Tumalo Commercial District. That distinction's key because the fact that they're already allowed as conditional use in the TUC certainly helps address some questions of compatibility and some of those other kind of issues. We spent a lot of time and energy trying to understand the genesis, the legacy of these historic limitations that are currently governing RV parks in the district. We had early meetings with county staff. Planning staff doesn't know. It's always been that way. We did a fair amount of research early on. There is some indication, if you go back in the legislative history, some comments about sewer that may have explained why that they were putting these historic limitations on RV parks and manufactured home parks. Probably the most compelling evidence I detailed in a letter that we submitted to the record yesterday. We found that the same language applies to manufactured home parks in the MUA 10 and the RR 10 zones. That language was adopted just a year prior to copying and pasting the same language to the TUC and then expanding that language to include RV parks. However, the legal concerns, if you look at the ordinances, which we included in the record yesterday, that govern the MUA 10 and the RR 10 zones versus TUC are completely different. And there's plenty of comments in the record about Goal 14, and that's perhaps why they were putting these historic limitations on RV parks, or excuse me, on manufactured home parks.
TUC?
Oh, I'm sorry, Tumalo Commercial District. Short
TCD?
the code.
Yeah, so that's why I was,
Commercial. So
okay, Tumalo Commercial, because yeah, I was trying to just figure out yep.
I'll do
got
my
it.
best to say.
Tumalo Commercial, got it.
what it is.
Well, because I was looking at Tumalo Commercial Zone, I was trying to figure out, yeah.
The abbreviation.
Got
for
it.
the Tumalo
Thank you.
Commercial District in the code.
Yeah.
So completely different legal landscape governing MUA 10 and RR 10. Yet it appears, for consistency's sake, the county in the 90s copied and pasted that exact same language over and then expanded it to include RV parks. The only reason we could find is that there was a very small manufactured home park that had a couple of RV spots at the time that this occurred. But again, there's no, it was different law, different considerations, and the best we can figure out sewer and concerns with just consistency. Other than that, there is not any good, clear, identifying reason why that historical limitation persists today. Next slide, please.
Mr. Smith, just to be clear, so there are no existing RV parks in this commercial zone right now?
No RV parks. There is an existing use that perhaps would have fallen under a manufactured home park, if for no other reason, distinguishing between people living permanently versus recreation-based lodging.
Okay, thank you.
So our proposed amendments, there's several components to the proposed amendments. First, and I noted it was left out of the brief staff report, and so I really wanted to highlight this. Step one is amending the purpose statement for the Tumalo Commercial District. I outlined in a written submittal yesterday why that makes sense, absent and apart from the rest of the proposal. I'm happy to go into it now, but I think our written argument really kind of sets that up nicely. The long and the short of it is current decisions for other commercial uses in the Tumalo Commercial District are really expanding, really relying on an expanded purpose statement that conforms with state law. Right now, the black letter of the law is that Deschutes County is being more restrictive than state law requires, and yet our practice is to follow something close or more akin to state law, not that very narrow purpose statement. So separate and apart from all this, we recommend amending the purpose statement. Second, as I noted, when this limitation was applied to the Tumalo Commercial District, was language borrowed from MUA 10 and RR 10 governing manufactured home parks, and then it was added together, manufactured/RV park. That doesn't make much sense. There's different policy considerations, so we're recommending bifurcating. Leave manufactured home parks the way it is, leave the historic limitation on manufactured home parks, but set RV parks out alone so then they can be governed separately. And then third is converting that historic limitation that was borrowed from manufactured home parks to what we're describing as a geographic limitation. Specifically, we're proposing that one lot or multiple lots under common ownership need to be between 2.3 and 5 acres within a sewer district or otherwise demonstrate that central sewer services can be provided contiguous to Highway 20, and then adjusting the road requirements to meet the substantive criteria, to basically have an engineer say that, yes, the road can meet this increased use. Just to clarify the record, and I'll breeze through this very quickly, there were a couple of mistakes in the original staff report that led to a lot of confusion and convoluted hearing officer proceedings. The first, there's a map that still is in your packet today that shows 2 properties would qualify. That map is incorrect. The property that was shown on the east side of Highway 20 is not within a sewer district. The new Tumalo sewer district is only on the east side of the highway, so any properties on the west would not qualify. And I would say at least a third, that's a conservative estimate, of the comments during the hearing officer's proceedings were concerned about an RV park on that property, which has never been contemplated, never been proposed. There were a couple other comments in the staff report questioning sewer and are you going to provide bathrooms and all these other kind of things. And to address both issues during the hearing officer's proceedings, we proposed further refinement of the code, which is what the hearing officer ultimately approved. Those further refinements were indicative of our intent and desire to work with the county and to work with the community to ensure that we are wrapping our arms around this proposed use and figuring out a way to make it to make it work in the Tumalo Commercial District. We understand the concerns, we understand the consternation. So even though the map across the highway, for example, never would have qualified, at least under the current configuration, we changed the acreage limits in the code to make that perfectly clear. Same thing with the sewer issue. We pivoted on our proposed amendment, and changed it. So the only way to go forward with this is with central sewer. Again, these are indicative of our intent to work with the county and the community to figure out how best to make RV parks work in this district, for reasons I'll get into later. So the hearing officer's decision, as staff noted, the hearing officer recommended approval. It took a fair amount of work going through some of these confusion and some of these issues, but he dug in, figured out like this is what we're proposing. These are the issues that are not relevant, and he recommended approval. Now, notably, if you look at his decision, he is refraining from making any policy decisions. The hearing, it was a kind of a unique hearing officer's decision, which is reflective of this unique process, but he constrained his consideration to what I would consider technical and legal issues. Stated differently, the hearing officer basically concluded that there is no technical or legal reason to not approve the text amendment. He then turned the matter over to the county commissioners to consider the policy implications. So in following suit with the hearing officer, we can get into all those technical and legal issues further, but we're going to focus our time on the policy implications, what's truly in front of the county commissioners. I wouldn't be surprised if there's some opponent testimony that is still focusing on some of those technical issues, traffic, roads, all of those things. I would just summarily state that those concerns are not substantiated by the evidence in the record. Next slide, please. So turning to the policy implications, what I think is appropriately in front of the county commissioners this morning. First and foremost, there's only one property that would meet the geographic limitations that we are proposed. That's on purpose. Other properties could perhaps be cobbled together, changes made, but as it stands right now today, there's only one, and it's actually a collection of properties owned by my client that would meet those geographic limitations that we proposed into the code. That property is adjacent to Highway 20 and directly right off of the new roundabout that was built. And for that reason alone, transient-oriented uses make sense because of the direct proximity to the highway. The property is largely hidden from Highway 20 because of existing vegetation and a building that is already on a portion of the property. It's near enough to other Tumalo businesses that are already catering to both Tumalo and residents and visitors passing through the area. For example, there's the Bite, coffee shops, antique stores. These are all within walking distance of the property. Takeaway is that this location is appropriate and uniquely situated from an RV park, at least from our perspective. Next slide, please. It's also very close to Tumalo State Park. Tumalo State Park is to the south. I would say about the same distance from the river. Well, it's very close to Tumalo State Park. I think that's important because the uses, how Tumalo State Park is being used, and specifically the campground at Tumalo State Park is a really good indicator of how this RV park will necessarily be used. We're not talking about camping around, Paulina Lake or on the Cascade Lakes Highway. We're talking about visitors who are coming to Central Oregon to visit Bend in particular, Tumalo in particular, City of Sisters. We're talking about, frankly, the camper van crowd or folks coming over from the valley for a long weekend. The same demographic that is using Tumalo State Park quite frequently are the likely users of this RV park. Next slide. Also similar to Tumalo State Park, this property has direct access to Deschutes River through adjacent properties owned by the state. There's already a trail system that comes right to the south edge of that property, and you can very easily go from this property, go on that trail system, walk up to Tumalo State Park with your tube, hop in the river, float down, and then get back out and walk right back up to the RV park. It is uniquely situated to provide residents opportunities to visit Tumalo and to be part of that community, and to also have the same recreational experiences that people frequent Tumalo State Park for. Next slide. Now, a sidebar, stepping slightly aside from the policy arguments, there was a lot of frustration during the hearing officer proceedings that we only had an idea of an RV park and not anything more than that. We had developed some really loose concepts to at least do traffic and infrastructure considerations. And as you know, this is not a proposal. Will be a subsequent conditional use permit application. So, it doesn't financially make much sense to go forward with even working through a conceptual plan if you don't even know if the idea is feasible. Nonetheless, we heard the community's concerns, and again, as a sign of goodwill to try and work with the community, my client went ahead and spent the time and money and energy, and we developed a conceptual plan. What's in front of you is our conceptual site plan. Again, there's nothing in front of you that would approve the site plan. We are just proposing this to try and explain so that members of the public understand more what the vision is.
So Adam, how many acres are within the yellow outline of the lots that you're including in this proposed plan?
2.3 acres. Just over the 2.3
The
minimum.
minimum then. Okay, thank you.
So a couple of notable features. If an RV park ever is built on this property, it will utilize the existing landscaping and augment that existing landscaping. You'll see a new trail across my client's other properties to the south to connect to that state lands. Vehicle access is constrained only to the north of the property and specifically avoids Riverview Avenue. And then we would contemplate building a solid wall. Site obscuring fencing is required by the code, but we would build a solid wall with additional landscaping along Riverview Avenue to provide visual buffering, sound buffering, and the rest from the neighborhood that's directly across the street from Riverview.
Would this new trail be available to everyone or just people who are staying at the RV park?
I'll talk with my client offline and then we can maybe get back to you on that particular question. There are liability issues that would need to be thought through before we made it publicly accessible. But even if the trail is only accessed from the RV park, you could still utilize the trail and then access Riverview itself, which is dedicated to the public. So this really isn't restricting any public access to the river. It is just providing access for the RV park residents itself. Whether or not that is, there's a way to open that up to the public or not is something we need to consider. Next slide, please. We went a step further. We also prepared some renderings based on that site plan. And they're just really trying to capture the concept. The intent is to build a nice higher end RV park that has amenities for the residents, the visitors who would be staying there, that is utilizing the existing features on the property, maintaining the landscaping, and expanding that landscaping. Next slide. Next slide. So returning more to the policy arguments, why are we doing this? Why are we spending all this time and energy pursuing this text amendment? Well, I think the county answered that question for us already. Deschutes County undeniably needs more RV parks and campgrounds. The county's own studies and efforts over the last couple of years have documented that fact for us. I don't think there's any doubt, at least amongst the commissioners, that like so many other amenities in our community, we are underserved by this particular use. We have not added campgrounds and RV parks to account for the population growth, nor have we added RV parks and campgrounds to account for the significant tourism pressure that is already occurring in Central Oregon. I won't go into too many more details unless the county really wants us to dig into these. I'm only highlighting a couple of things from your plan, but I think it is undeniable that by the county's own efforts, this use, this type of use is underserved in Deschutes County currently. Next slide. I don't like to read from slides in front of commissioners, but I think this statement is so on point. I'll read at least one sentence. This is from your own study analyzing this issue. Scarcity of camping opportunities in Central Oregon, including for recreational vehicles, RVs, not only reduces total visitation, but also contributes to increased dispersed camping and undeveloped forest land and along roads. So there's two issues, two impacts for us being underserved in this particular area. Economic development, we're missing out on economic opportunities, and we are causing impacts to some of the wonderful resources that we have that people are coming to visit through dispersed camping in the Deschutes National Forest and in other areas of the county. It's undeniable, it's well documented. I've got some pictures to show you at the end from just earlier in this week that again really highlights that issue. Next slide. Up one slide back. So again, returning to Tumalo State Park is really the bell, or really the indicator of what's likely going to occur just a stone's throw away. We all know from personal experience trying to get a campground in Deschutes County. I mean, how many times have, we all, had meetings or dinners with our friends to pick those weekends 6 months out for camping somewhere in Deschutes County or somewhere else in the state. And then that morning, waking up at 6 a.m., 6 months out, clicking and clicking, trying to get a reservation. One of the worst parks, one of the most heavily used parks in the entire state is Tumalo State Park. In fact, just for illustration purposes, we, a couple of weeks ago, tried to get a reservation for just 2 days, starting Friday, October 10th, and there was only one of 88 RV spots available in Tumalo State Park. This is the shoulder season, and you still realistically have a very, very hard time getting any camping in Deschutes County. The point being, the county has studied this, and we all personally know this. We all know that we are underserved by this particular use. Next slide. Slightly different point here. Again, you guys know the outcome of your own study as well as I do, but the county looked at 3 of your own pieces of property to try and figure out if you could do your own RV park and, paid good money for a pretty comprehensive study, doing the same thing that my client did, but on your property. And the conclusion of that study is RV park development shows strong potential, but each site has unique and challenging constraints. Land use in Oregon has many wonderful features, but I think this is one of the unintended consequences that we've made it very, very difficult to develop campgrounds and RV parks. And even on the county's own property, this is a difficult thing. It's a difficult nut to crack. To figure out how to do one of these developments, even though the need is so pronounced, is hard. The takeaway is we found a way. We found a way on a unique property that is directly within a stone's throw from another campground that is being overwhelmed, that has direct access to the river, and within walking distance of all the amenities that Tumalo has to provide. Next slide.
On your plan, how many spots do you have allocated?
30 spots.
30.
Yeah, the conceptual site plan, which I think it's pretty bit more than conceptual, and we put some real time and energy into this. We're outlining 30 spots.
Thank you.
It could be more, honestly, Commissioner. We limited it to 30 spots, frankly, because we were trying to be respectful, understand the community's concerns, and not overwhelm the site. So I wanted to just note that this picture's worth 1,000 words. These pictures were taken on Monday, just this Monday, a couple days ago, near Fields Trail in Deschutes National Forest.
That's
This is,
what I thought it was.
this is a policy issue that we're trying to address. Here, let's go to the next slide.
But these are people that they stay there too long. They don't sign up. I mean, I hear from someone that lives by there all the time and it's really incredibly overwhelming and it's not good for Phil's Trail.
Well, let's go to one more slide. I think it's a mix of users personally. I think this slide really tells a complete picture. You have, especially on that image to the right, an older, more rundown RV right next to a pretty new, pretty modern, very expensive RV. What we're seeing out at Phil's Trail is a mix of folks who are probably living out there, and this is more permanent dispersed camping, and also people who are coming over from the valley and, frequenting the recreational amenities and the wonder of our community for a weekend. Right? I think it's both. I don't think it's necessarily only people who are coming and living out in these kinds of situations.
There's a lot of license plates from other states too, though.
Oh, I'm not disagreeing. I'm
Right.
saying-
They come and they're not paying.
Yeah, no, and Adam is trying to emphasize that there's a lot of recreational visitation that are coming and staying in dispersed camping on federal lands, not contributing anything to our local economy, probably potentially contributing to waste management issues, et cetera.
Thank you, Commissioner Chang, for making the point for me. It's a mix of both users. And I'll note real quickly, we're not trying to address the houselessness issue with this proposal. I know there's a lot of concern in the Tumalo community that this RV park is going to turn into permanent residency. We can't. That's not even legally an option. The Deschutes County Code right now limits occupancy to only 30 out of 60 days. We're not seeking to change that. Number one. Number two, the amenities that you have to provide at any RV park in Deschutes County per the code currently pushes it up to a relatively higher end RV park. You have to provide laundry, you have to provide all of these amenities at a recreational vehicle park so they're not cheap endeavors. They're not easy to develop from an economic point of view. And that means that it's going to be more expensive than Tumalo State Park. We hope it's not going to break the bank. We hope it's going to be frequently utilized. We think there's an economic case for this type of use, but this is not addressing houselessness. That's by design. That's, the Deschutes County Code makes it very clear that these types of recreation-based lodging opportunities are temporary. It's not even necessarily for seasonal workers, for somebody to come in and stay for an entire, like a traveling nurse, for example, to stay for an entire summer. That's not allowed under the county's current code. This use will be the exact same type of users who are coming and staying in Tumalo State Park, a stone's throw away. And my recollection is they're limited to 2 weeks stay there. Next slide. Just again, picture's worth 1,000 words. This is the new Bend RV Resort that was developed within UGB, within city limits, just south of town. This is the alternative to dispersed camping. For the same reasons where it made economic sense to develop something like this within city limits, we're trying to do something like this within the city of Tumalo. I would note it's not overflowing. This is on the same day. That campground out Phil's Trail, which I frequent pretty often, that was a lot of users for October. And then you go and you look at the Bend RV Park, and it's not overflowing with the same users. Why is that? It's $110 a night. That's what happens when you do an RV park within a UGB. It's expensive. It's expensive. We're trying to find a way that's not necessarily cheap. There's no way for us to have the same economics of a state park, for example, but hopefully is less than that. Next slide. I included this one because it shows a similar wall, similar landscaping, same concept to find a way to provide some visual buffering from the existing neighborhood that's across Liverview. Okay, really quickly, because I'm sensitive to time. We've heard there's a recurring theme from folks who are concerned with this proposal. I just wanted to address those comments preemptively, because I'm sure you'll hear them later in today's morning. Or today's hearing. The first, we're hearing from a lot of people that an RV park is not compatible with the Tumalo community plan. We've scoured that document. There is nothing in that document that comes anywhere close to saying that an RV park would not be compatible. And I think this goes back to my initial point. RV parks are already allowed. We are not adding a new conditional use to the zone. We are changing the nature in which an RV park is permitted, but it's already listed as a conditional use. Now, this is an important consideration. If the county in the 90s, when they adopted that language, wanted to only allow existing RV parks to continue because they were not compatible uses, they wouldn't have added that language. And then existing RV parks would be treated as a non-conforming use. The fact that RV parks were allowed as a conditional use suggests that it's compatible. That's the whole distinction. A use that's allowed outright, we can generally say is compatible on any property within a zone. A use that is a conditional use is determined to be compatible, but there are some site-specific considerations we need to look at. So the fact that RV parks are already allowed means that the county already decided that this is a compatible use in the zone. Next, there's a number of people are concerned that an RV park at this particular location, the only location that meets the current code or that we've proposed, would somehow impact the community of Tumalo or the downtown feel or some of those other kind of things. You know, I would suggest that I don't think that's necessarily true. The TUC, the Tumalo Commercial District, is a fairly large zone spanning both sides of Highway 20 in Tumalo. The part that go back one slide, the portion of that's highlighted in yellow, I would say that's more of the downtown core. That's more of where you would want those kinds of uses that are perhaps serving Tumalo, that it's more walkable. That's where we already have the bite, restaurants, a lot of those other kind of uses. And then on the other portion, on both the west and the east side of the highway, is where it is reasonable from a planning perspective to expect uses that are going to be benefiting from direct access to the highway. So the Tumalo Commercial District in its current form serves both types of uses. And we would assert that putting an RV park on the only property that would qualify is not really going to impact the character or the feel of Tumalo itself. Next slide. Now, we don't need to get into all, there's only one key number, and that's the -166. Now, what this is, we've also heard from a lot of folks that they would prefer residential use on this property. Now, residential use is both single-family residence and duplexes are allowed in the Tumalo Commercial District. And I would note, first, big picture, if you only build residential uses because you're concerned about the compatibility or the impacts of commercial uses, you're going to very quickly turn Tumalo into a bedroom community. It's a commercial district. It's first and foremost intended for commercial purposes. Second, residential uses are not impact-free. Now, as you saw from the original maps, this is a number of different lots. And right now, under the current code, we can build duplexes in each and every one of those lots that are being identified for an RV park. That would be 30 residences. So we had our traffic engineer do a quick calculation of just the traffic impacts to kind of use that as a proxy of the other impacts. And an RV park will generate 166 less ADTs compared to 30 residential units, 15 duplexes on the same property. I would assert that that's the same proxy for sewer and water impacts. Last, there's no prohibition from using those exact same 30 duplexes as short-term rentals. And so then some of the other concerns that could come up, oh, all these people are going to be utilizing the river, or they're going to overwhelm our businesses, or any of these other kind of things. We can have that same impact today without going through any text amendment. The only difference is renting all those short-term rentals is going to be much more expensive, obviously. And so we're missing the opportunity to provide more economical recreation-based lodging in our community. And we're not going to do anything about all that dispersed camping. Next slide. Now, I added just a couple more pictures in at the last second. As noted, if we're going with a basic battle of the experts view of the evidence in the record, our traffic engineer has documented that an RV park will generate less traffic than the most anticipated commercial use on the property, generates less traffic than even residential uses, as I just noted. But there still have been lots and lots of concern that the streets of Tumalo can't handle RVs. Well, these pictures are all taken also on Monday, and these are all properties a stone's throw from my client's current property in Tumalo, and they document trailer, horse trailer, RV, after RV, I mean, if the current residents are not having a problem navigating the streets with RV, then visitors coming to Tumalo are going to do just fine as well. Additionally, any conditional use permit is going to have to consider traffic impacts. And if we have to improve the roads and address turning movements, then that's what happens as part of the conditional use permit. Next slide. Next slide. 3 takeaways that I'd like to leave with you. We understand the community's concerns. We have been bending over backwards. I've invited anybody to come and talk with me, to call me. I've scheduled numerous conversations with residents to ask, I understand the concern. I understand this is a change. How can we make it better? And we're willing to codify a lot of those things that you would typically address through a conditional use permit. We are very confident that this use can work in the Tumalo Commercial District. And we are willing to work with the county and the neighbors to develop a way to make that use, to make it flourish. Second, as you know, commissioners, there is a documented need for additional RV parks in the community. We didn't need to make that case for you. You guys already made that case last year, right? This is a I would say even a desperate need for our community. And third, the hearing officer's decision demonstrate that there's not a legal or technical reason to deny the application. What I've spent my time doing today is to try and present that there's no policy reason. Stated differently, I would say legally, technically, and policy reasons, all arguments support converting what's been a historic limitation on RV parks that nobody can explain to a geographic limitation, and to provide an economic opportunity for Tumalo and to help curtail the dispersed camping that is impacting our Deschutes National Forest. Happy to answer any questions, and if there are none, then we'll reserve time for rebuttal to address anything else that comes up.
I have one more question. So you reviewed the scenario where this same land on a currently allowable use residential development could have certain kinds of impacts, traffic, wastewater, et cetera. Can you also talk about the other allowable uses in the Tumalo commercial zone and what kind of impacts those might have?
We haven't done any analysis of any of the other uses. I'm happy to address that, maybe either in rebuttal or in the open record period if the one that follows from today. And to clarify, the only impact we looked at was traffic, and we're presuming that if there's that much change in traffic, that also would be a good proxy for sewer and water. The reasons being, and the reason why the traffic is so much less the reason why 30 space RV park versus 30 residential units has so much less traffic is because it's not the same consistency of use, right? It's not somebody living there going and coming day after day. So whether it comes from a water impact, sewer impact, or anything else, an RV park where people are coming and going occasionally, you're going to have some occupancy. You're not going to be at full occupancy all the time. And you see that through the numbers, the traffic numbers.
Right. I mean, one example I would give, and you can maybe address this in the rebuttal: noise. So there are a wide variety of things allowed in a commercial zoned area, some of which might produce very different kinds of noise, maybe louder noises than an RV park. So those are the kinds of things I'm curious about, because basically what I think we're hearing from a lot of people is a concern about change, right? And you're exploring a change to a certain particular use, but it's important for people to understand that a commercial area in a thriving community, is going to have commercial uses. And this is one alternative and among many for commercial use of that property. And it's important. It's helpful to think about what the impacts of other kinds of commercial uses might be.
Absolutely, Commissioner. I would go a step further and say, so there's Deschutes County Code already highly regulates RV parks. We're not proposing to change any of those regulations except for slightly converting how traffic is addressed. those existing regulations for all RV parks include, for example, quiet hours. You're not necessarily going to have the same limitation on another commercial use within the district. Because RV parks are so heavily regulated, we're already taking multiple steps towards making it a more harmonious use in the area. But we're happy to address that more comprehensively down the road.
Thanks.
Okay, thank you very much. This
I have
is,
another question.
there we go, one more.
The 30 units, are these duplex units? It says, single family attached housing. Are they,
Yeah.
you have 30 units
we-
because
we
I
got
can
the-
only count 19 lots where you're suggesting the RVs are going to go. So I'm just like, okay, how did you come to 30?
Duplexes, which
It's all duplexes.
the number of lots that
15.
would likely be taken up by an RV park is 15. You can do single family residential and duplex as use is allowed outright in the commercial zone.
Okay. So just trying to calculate that. And how many days did you say someone can stay there?
By current county code, 30 out of 60 days.
30 out of 60. Okay. That's what I thought it was. I thought you'd mentioned 2 weeks somewhere in there.
Tumalo State Park, my recollection is limited to 2 weeks. I'm pretty, and I'll turn to Commissioner Chang. I'm sure he knows, but I'm pretty sure Deschutes National Forest is technically supposed to be 2 weeks, but nobody follows it.
Nobody follows the law.
Developed campgrounds and dispersed camping.
Correct. Thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you. We're going to go through, in the public hearing process, persons in support and opposition. We don't have specific support requests, but we do have neutral and undecided, so we're going to start there. So, and we do have multiple microphones, so I'm going to call a couple names. We'll just keep folks going. So, Martha Gross, and then Dan Harrison. And I noticed that a few folks might have stepped away because it's getting to be an hour after it got started, so I don't know if everybody's here still, but Martha, thank you for joining us. Dan Harrison, and then following will be Vicki Hickman.
Good morning, and thank you, commissioners, for this opportunity to speak. I am not opposed to the RV park. I have a home that I own in what we fondly call the Tree Streets from Riverview east to the river. My address is 19933 Elm Lane. I am also secretary to the board of directors for this Tumalo Basin Sewer District. I have heard concerns about infrastructure for a couple of years now, and I don't believe that the Gieslers have any intention of doing anything other than what is right for the community, tastefully designed so that we appreciate driving by it on our way home. I feel that once the conditional use application is in, then other people's concerns will be addressed at that time. My initial concern has always been the access and egress and the impact on the neighborhood. And, I see areas of Horton where the snowplow came through and the sidewalk is all bundled up on the side. And people do park their trucks and trailers on the road, and sometimes that narrows it. So I can see those kinds of issues being addressed. As far as progress on the sewer district, as a side note, I would invite anyone to check in on what's happening at TumaloBasinSD.org. We would definitely invite more community involvement in that process. And it could be easily years down the road before there's even ground is broken. Funding and engineering have to be in place. So and this is foundational for a lot more change that's going to be coming to Tumalo. It was inevitable. These folks are within their right to do what they're doing. I understand the governance and the separation of RV parks versus mobile home parks and the separate governance that those needs, being a current RVer myself. I thank you for your time and the opportunity to come up and speak.
Thank you.
Thank you, Martha.
So,
Thanks for serving as secretary.
yep, Dan Harrison, and then Vicki Hickman. Hello.
Accommodating this meeting. My biggest concern with this, I'm a Tumalo resident for 40 years. I've been a veterinarian, built a surgery hospital up the road. Know all about traffic and trailers and whatnot. My biggest concerns is that this is a one-off text amendment benefiting one individual and not the Tumalo community, period. They can dress it up with the language of economical recreational camping. I can't really believe that, I'm doubtful that that's what their motive is in providing recreational camping for others. It's not the motivation to develop and request this text amendment. The recreational use only is a transitory and not a permanent housing. There's no lodging tax revenue for the county. The noise pollution we've talked about, generators, traffic congestion, sewage, river effects, solid fencing. I mean, there's a huge undertaking to benefit one individual. When his property sells, if it's an amendment that allows camping, then that will value that property accordingly. It was platted in 1903 with multiple small lots, but from what I understand, there are also multiple business named entities for these multiple lots owned by one individual. So that potentially could lead to some code enforcement issues of whether or not something is done right or wrong. Could be finger pointing because of the multiple business entities. So there's a little bit of a thinly veiled attempt to make it seem like it's an innocent, necessary development for that particular area. There are alternative uses, as the Commissioner Chang recommended, that some light commercial, light industrial, which also have mitigating negativities. But what I think the future for Tumalo is not this future. I don't think it's inevitable, but yes, this doesn't have to be that use that is inevitable. So I think it's just another thinly veiled money grabbing venture to benefit this portfolio and not really benefiting the community of Tumalo in general. And that is the basis of my complaints.
Could you provide your name and address real quick?
Daniel Harrison, DBM 64625 Mock Road, Bend, Oregon, 97701. I've been here for 40.
Are you at
1 years.
Tumalo Veterinary Hospital then? Is that where you practice?
No, other one up the hill, Bend Equine Medical Center.
Bend Equine, okay.
Went through the conditional use permit. It's MUA land. I mean, I have some working knowledge of how that game is played, but we do provide a business entity for the community of farm raisers, cattle, horses especially. This doesn't provide a community benefit to anybody in Tumalo. Somebody driving by Highway 20 wants to pay $100 a night for, a camping spot. So there's a little bit gray area of what benefits Tumalo.
Oh, Mr. Harrison, I appreciate your comments, and I followed you. One point, I do believe that RV parks and campgrounds charge transient lodging tax, and then they turn that money over to us. So there's that's one thing, one point of clarification.
Yeah, well, versus a land tax, for single family dwellings. I guess that would be the difference. But thank you.
I mean, I think that, we would want to get our we would want to get our CFO and our assessor in here, but I mean, the land as is, with vacant, no uses of that land, it is paying property tax now, and I think you would tax that. It would be charged property taxes based on the assessed value of the development that was on it. So there would be more property taxes than that, you know, than those lots that are currently vacant are paying.
I have one quick question on the, which none of this was mentioned, at least I didn't see it, was the length of the vehicles that would be allowed. Because the Beaver coach towing a little private car is a lot more impact than a 15-foot little trailer. So that if that's done ahead of time, or is that done in the next phase?
I think that would be part of a conditional use application, but maybe the applicant wants to respond to that at the end of the hearing.
And I'll acknowledge the applicant's listening, and things that can be picked up today and responded to will be done at the end of this process today, because that'll be the rebuttal period.
Well,
Thank you.
A trailer can, the minimum will be 30 feet, but
Oh,
Beaver
understood.
coach
Long.
is 60. You know, so that limits the number of slots that would be available. And then the traffic congestion involved with people driving those vehicles that can't see behind very well and aren't used to driving is a problem. Kids walking to and from school, there's no sidewalks. It's just I think it's the wrong thing for this community. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor.
So Vicky Hickman.
Hello, my name is Vicki Hickman. I live in Sisters now, 546 Tyee Drive, 97759. I originally moved to Tumalo out by Innis Market Road in 1976, raised my children. They went to Tumalo School. And one funny thing is, you know, they usually took the bus, but every once in a while I'd have to drive them for whatever reason. And the stop sign right by Tumalo Irrigation, I remember saying to myself, you know, someday you're actually going to have to stop at this stop sign.
Mm-hmm.
And when I go to Tumalo now, whole different world.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, as alluded to earlier, the traffic impact study is going to be integral to decision making because of the length of RVs, the turnarounds, how wide the streets are now, sidewalks for students from Tumalo School, and also you might want to take into account I think the plan is to build a middle school in Tumalo. So you're going to have, in coordination with Tumalo School that's already there, you're going to have more traffic with students walking from residences, etc. So the width of the streets and ability to have sidewalks and the turnaround with the size of the RVs is all going to need to be projected in that traffic impact statement. And so that's going to be a big part of looking at how feasible that is and what the cost is going to be and who's going to bear that cost. Is the RV developer going to bear that cost of infrastructure? How much of that? And then how much, if any, should the residents that are presently there bear any responsibility for that infrastructure? So those are considerations. That's primarily what I wanted to say.
So I do have a quick, Vicki, when did you move from Tumalo then?
5 years ago.
5 years?
Yeah, 5 years ago. We've been in Sisters. My daughter now lives on that property with the grandchildren being raised there. So we've kept it in the family. But yeah, and you wouldn't also believe, my mailbox used to be right on Highway 20. We stopped on Highway 20 and got our mail. Now you'd be dead.
Yeah.
But anyway, so that's the difference.
You'd be, yes.
Okay. So we're seeing more growth. Thanks.
Yep, understood. So Linda Barbero and Mike Barbero following. And then Dan McNally. As I say, we've got plenty of seats if multiple people want to come up and get ready.
Name is Linda Barbero, and my address is 64705 Simon Road, Tumalo.
Grab the microphone and put it in front of you, please. This is a remote. Yeah, there.
Keep my address.
But just proceed. We're good. Yep.
I just want to say to start, I'm not opposed to RV parks. They are necessary, and I just think they need to be put in an appropriate place. And I don't think Tumalo is an appropriate place. You know, it borders single-family homes. I would encourage everybody on the board to make a field trip down there and walk around and see where this is, okay? I don't think that putting an RV park would have any impact on people using the dispersed campsites out in the woods, okay? Because they don't want to come in and pay 100, or even if it's less expensive, it's 75 or $50 a night. None of those people are going to want to come to this RV park and pay that, okay? I know the owner disputes this, but I would be willing to bet my 4 eye teeth that someday they're going to try to convert it to permanent residential housing. I know that would require some further changes in the regulations, but I think they'll seek it, and I think that's what would eventually happen in my lifetime. And they'll cite the housing shortage and the lack of affordable housing and all this other sort of thing. I think an alternative would be to build single-family housing. I don't think that most of the people here or people in the neighborhood would object to that. I know there would be some impacts from that also, but I think that it's more appropriate use. The fact that it's cited for commercial, well, I don't know, maybe they could have some businesses in there also. But I just really feel it's not appropriate. And like I said, I really encourage members of the board to visit the area and see if they think it's appropriate. Or think about your own neighborhood and then having an RV park bordering your property almost across the street from your property. Think about where you live and whether you would like that. Okay.
Linda, I can tell you every time we do these, I think of that. I think of my backyard, my front yard, my neighbors. Every time we do a land use, I always go down that thought process.
Well, I'm glad you do.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Linda.
Thank you.
Mike Barbaro and then Dan McNally.
I'm Mike Barbaro, 64715 Simon Road, Tumalo. My concern is traffic. We know we've seen increased traffic in the last 6 years or so in Tumalo. Used to be you come to a stop sign, you had to wait for a car too. Try it nowadays. You know, it just doesn't happen. The other thing is that area, that particular situation where those lots are very difficult to get into and out of. Yes, maybe things can change in the future, but I invite anybody to drive down there and try to make a left or right wherever you want down there. And people on the tree streets, if they live there, they know how to get in or out. Someone from another state or another community coming over here, they make a wrong turn, especially with the with a trailer or something on the back they're towing, they've got a problem. It's very difficult to get in. It's difficult to get out if you don't know the area. So what are we going to do? Have big signage? You know, if you're towing something, you better make a right here or, you know, or not. And that's one of my concerns. If we had a straight road where you've got a driveway in and a driveway out, that's one thing, especially if you're towing a 20 or whatever foot vehicle. But in that situation where they are right now, back in that corner niche, whatever, very difficult. And I can't imagine, and you know, their map shows possibly going in, having a turnaround and coming out, but they also show going through somebody else's parking lot to get out. And I'm there, huh? You know, I mean, if that's what you have to do with a long trailer, yeah. And that was another one of my concerns. There has to be limitations on who can go there. You can't have somebody driving I don't know, maybe a 60-foot vehicle wanting a spot and showing up and that kind of a thing when there's got to be some restrictions. But again, it's very difficult to get in or out. I advise anybody to drive down there to take a look because it's tough.
Thank you. Dan McNally, and then following will be Kelsey Kelly. Okay, so thank you very much for joining us today, though. Ms. Kelly, and then following will be Lauren Kramer.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Hello, good to see you.
You all. As you know, I was elected to, you elected me to serve on the Planning Commission representing Tumalo. But I want to say that today my opinions and observations are only my own and I don't represent the Planning Commission up here. I was born and raised just 2 blocks from this site. And I have extensive knowledge of this town. It's where my whole extended family lives, right downtown Tumalo. We own rentals and businesses. I'm very connected. Tumalo runs through my blood. I learned how to ride my bike on Wharton Road, which would be the road that the RVs would have to travel down to make a left, because you can't make a left on 8th Street because of the roundabout anymore. So I just kind of want to put a visual of since you can't take a left on 8th Street because of the roundabout, you have to go down Wharton Road. It may not be obvious to the map, but you have to go down Wharton Road. There's no sidewalks, there's no shoulders. I think a lot of our fears are based on that's the pedestrian thoroughfare for the whole neighborhood, the tree neighborhoods, to get to schools, to get to Tumalo Store, the coffee shop. That's what everyone uses. And then to be sending RVs and motorhomes down that street is just irresponsible, and it's a public safety issue. I also had the privilege of listening to hours and hours of testimony and read public comments when we did the Tumalo Community Plan update, and I got a real sense of what the community feels that they would like services and businesses that support the community. And I think the testimonies that I've read and seen is that this just isn't aligned with that. My initial thoughts of this, I need to get back to my notes because I'll start rambling, is why now? Why are we in a hurry to approve this? This project is fraught with if, whens, speculations. If the sewer comes, when the sewer comes, we don't know when that's happening. Do we know if the community water system will serve this project? I was at a meeting where they said after they already serve their current users and they have the reserves required for fire protection, that there really isn't much left. So do we know that this, and I understand, well, that would be discussed in the conditional use permit, but I just don't understand why we need to be in such a hurry to approve this right now. I think I went over the traffic issues. Like I said, that's just a road that needs massive improvements before we can make it safe. And I want to say I absolutely support private property rights. I'm a realtor and I know and educate my clients. When you buy property, you're also buying the rights that run with the land. You know when you buy the property what kind of rights it has. It's frustrating to watch people come in with deep pockets and resources to hire lawyers, find the loopholes and navigate the system to change the code and bend the rules to their benefit. At last I checked, there were 106 public comments. And the vast majority, I heard a testimony today supporting it, but I hadn't seen any public comments in support. And I'll be interested, and I support people to have their own opinions, but please, we elected you to represent us. And I really hope that you listen to our comments and take that into consideration when you're making your decision. I really appreciate everything you guys do. And I'm not against growth and progress in Tumalo at all. I'm just really want to be thoughtful about how it serves our community.
Thank you. Lauren Kramer, and then following will be Catherine Cole.
Hi, I'm Lauren Kramer. I appreciate the time you're taking to listen to me. I'm at 65965 White Rock Loop in Tumalo. I stand before you as a concerned member, addressing the proposed RV park in our Tumalo Commercial District and the entrance to our community. It feels almost surreal that not long ago I was listening to some of the details in this very room, bless you, of the Tumalo 2040 plan and the importance of having an architectural review committee. There were paint colors and design aesthetics discussed for the specific area, and now we find ourselves contemplating a development that runs counter to our community values and established land use codes. Many of us never anticipated that this proposal would progress so far. Our land use codes are in place for a reason, and I urge you to uphold them as a guiding principle to reject this proposal of an amendment code change. If you ask my horse, she'll tell you there are already enough bikers on the scenic route. Tumalo is filled with agriculture land, not recreational land. So after listening to the applicant's attorney talk about these transient visitors coming in and using the river, I don't know if he realizes that the exit of that river, if they continue to go down, exits at Twin Bridges, which means there's going to be more traffic in our rural area where we do ride horses on our streets. And they do get spooked out when there's cars driving, especially more so than right now that we have. So that's something I wanted to address. I don't know if you're aware of that. And the fact that Tumalo State Park is, at max capacity, maybe there's a reason for that. Maybe we shouldn't have more people using those resources. Maybe the land can't handle more people using the river. If you go there on peak season, you see how many people are already there. Imagine there being more people. It's kind of scary. Growth is inevitable. Smart growth is in your hands. So the voices of business owners and local residents are clear. We do not want this type of development in our Tumalo Commercial District. Kelsey, who just spoke, my son goes to her husband, and he's a PT right there in downtown, or not downtown, but in the Tumalo Commercial District. I mean, it's a community. This isn't a vacation spot. So land use laws are meant to preserve the character of our community. Tumalo is not a transient travel destination. We already have these within Deschutes County and can accommodate this type of travel. I actually looked it up and I took screenshots, and I meant to bring it up to me. But right now at Bend RV Park, there's 69 spots available. I looked in the summer, starting in June. There ranges from 114 spots available right now to like 100. I don't have the number in front of me, but I know in June it was like 114 spots are available. If you're not a good planner, I say you snooze, you lose. You can get a spot to travel to Bend if you want to. So this is just concluding. I really appreciate your time and consideration. I trust you'll make a decision that reflects the best interest of Tumalo and its future and not amend the code. Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thanks, Lauren.
Catherine Cole, and then following will be Susan Hart. Catherine Cole. Okay, Susan Hart. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Susie Hart, and my mailing address is P.O. Box 87, Bend, 97709, but I live in Tumalo. First, I'm going to address some of the testimony given by Mr. Giesler's attorney, and just in general. Originally, I think your instructions were that this is about a text amendment, not about a specific property or whatever, and yet almost all of Giesler's testimony was about a specific property. Another, and I was a little confused, he talked about referring to the east side of the highway and the west side of the highway, and yet when he talked about Tumalo State Park, he referred to it as being on the south side of the highway. So just some clarification about what the directions are. In general, the highway runs east and west. Tumalo is on the north side, and the park is on the east side, or south side, excuse me. He's even got me confused. Okay, so one of the things that Mr. Giesler's attorney mentioned was about the county doing a study and trying to get their own parks, RV parks, established. And it's my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, that the county was trying to establish these parks to address the homeless situation or houseless. No, not correct.
Not that study. there's definitely a whole lot of study going on
Right, and that you've.
around shelter and transitional housing, but we did a specific study for recreational market rate campgrounds.
So that one I wasn't familiar with, but you have been trying, if I understand correctly, and it picked some locations that you tried to do for the homeless people that have campers. Am I correct about that?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. So another comment they made was about showing pictures of dispersed camping, which much of is due to homelessness, but instead showed pictures of big, expensive RVs. And there are a lot of people that look for free places to camp that don't want to pay for, especially since they're paying on their big fancy camper. I got curious about seeing these signs at the RV park at Tumalo State Park, where they always said no vacancy, or campground full is, I think, how they put it. So this summer I started driving through just to see what that entailed. And especially the last 3 months, I have driven through at least once or twice a week. And I don't understand how they could say that they couldn't get a spot on October 10th, because I just drove through yesterday and again a week ago. There's plenty of empty places, plenty. You could get a spot. So I don't know what that was about. And it might possibly be that that some of those spots are first come, first serve. So you can't make a reservation for those. You just come and get a spot. Another comment they made was that there's nothing in the Tumalo plan that says you can't have RV parks. My analogy to that was when my children got old enough to be left home alone and I needed to go do something, and I would tell them what they had to do while I was gone, what they could do, what they couldn't do. And I came home and they did something they shouldn't have done. And their excuse was, "You didn't say we couldn't do that." Well, that is probably what happened way back when this original plan that didn't say no RV parks happened, because there probably weren't many RV parks, if any, way back when this original plan was made. So I think that's a ridiculous excuse to say that we need to do a text amendment. Okay, those are my responses. What I came prepared to say was, as you can tell, I'm vehemently opposed to a text amendment to allow an RV park in Tumalo. The county 2040 plan commits to preserve Tumalo as a rural community. An RV park does not meet that end. Changing zoning would be the opposite. Changing zoning to allow an RV park would be the opposite of preserving the rural atmosphere of Tumalo. Any RV park in Tumalo would negatively impact neighborhood streets and traffic on them. I agree with the lady that testified before me and took a picture on my way here of the egress from that site and at 8th and Wharton.
We're gonna have to wrap up. We're getting kind of long here.
Okay.
Trying to let you go here, but
Right. I'll try to, I'm almost done anyway. So let me just finish this. So you have to come out on Wharton. Like she said, you cannot turn left on 8th and get to the roundabout. You have to, at that point, you have to turn right and go through the rest of Tumalo. And I don't know how you're going to turn around or where you're going to turn around to get back if you want to get on the highway and go east. The ability to do that just isn't there. Besides, that street is just homes. Who wants a constant stream of RVs going in and out, back and forth? It would be a nightmare. And then again, I would also comment on the environmental impact and the river and et cetera, some of the things other people have said. So thank you very much.
great. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you, Susie.
So this has been all the requests to speak. Is there anyone online? Okay. And yeah, I'm available for another
Somebody in-
blue page if you want. Okay, so
Yeah.
yeah,
With one that's missing?
I might have lost track of it then.
You can always just fill it out afterwards.
But yeah, come join us and then we'll figure that out.
You have
Blank one, it's blank.
Yeah, I think I went through. Well, and once we catch your name, I'll see if I have it here.
My name is Belinda Cashline. I live at 66440 Gherking Market Road in Tumalo, 97703. Our family has been here for 25 years. I'm very happy to say we live in the rural ranching part of Tumalo. And it was a real life decision to make a choice to move here, to be part of this community, and to have a different quality of lifestyle than where we had come from. And I've watched Tumalo grow, and I've known it's a gem. It's going to be a better gem as the years progress. And it's leading the direction right now already, showing that its roots are rock solid, that the community is very supportive of the businesses that are coming into town. And I can very personally speak to that. I just opened a business in downtown Tumalo on Cook Avenue about 5-6 weeks ago. And I'm completely blown away by the support of the community. And it took 2 years for me to renovate a 1906 historic building to be able to open it to the public. And my whole focus, which I encourage Mr. Giesler to contemplate, is what does Tumalo need? What does the community want? What are we missing in our small community that would really benefit the local people to have more of what they need, so that we're not always relying on the subsequent surrounding communities of Redmond, Sisters, and Bend for our basic needs. And since I've been open, only about 25 days out of the 5 weeks I've been here, it's been very interesting to me to get the community feedback unasked. Mind you, I have a little tropical plant store, and that's what I sell along with fresh flowers. And it's been interesting to feel the pulse of the community concerns about this development, as well as what does the community need? I've had actually other landowners come to me. Do you think I could open this kind of business here? Yes, we're missing things. And it would be wonderful if people continue to develop the potential of community in Tumalo that provides basic needs and resources, so that we have a more creative, a more fulfilling community at our disposal. And nowhere have I yet experienced a customer coming in excited about this proposal. It feels like it's perhaps a need that, yes, indeed does need to be met. I learned a lot from the presentation, and I appreciate that. Okay, so maybe we do need RV parking, but when is RV parking and RV camping opportunities inside a very small community space? I mean, Tumalo is small. You can walk from one end to the other without getting out of breath. It is a small community, and its width is diversified by private homes and other businesses. I have a business that's located next to a residential situation, though it is rated commercial. It's difficult. It's a difficult combination. Our main drag, Cook Avenue through Tumalo, should be commercial. And this comparison of doing an RV campground and then duplexes is inappropriate. It's a commercial property. It should be commercial, not residential, because we have a conflict happening. Cook Avenue, if you go down that street at any given moment, it is intense. It's intense with traffic. It's intense with semis. We have so much going on there. That to me is the next biggest concern, is how to mitigate and make our traffic safe again, because there's way too much speeding. I can tell you that from months and months and 2 years worth of watching this traffic. But I think what you're hearing from the community in a very concise way is the concerns of how to accommodate an RV campground in our community, and the amount of traffic concerns are legitimate. I mean, all of Cook Avenue is actually a really big concern, not just the very beginning by the roundabout. So I encourage Mr. Giesler to contemplate, what does Tumalo need? You're bringing this to a community that loves what it has. What can you bring to this community that can actually benefit the community and can add to the community?
Now
And,
we got to wrap up.
oh, already there. Okay.
You were on a roll.
The last thing I want
And-
to say is perhaps rather than everybody negating all of this, I want to offer an idea. And it's just an idea because I'm an idea kind of a gal. What about what Sisters has done with live work environments? They have created commercial spaces with living up above. And I think that's a really interesting possibility for a space as attractive as this particular proposed land use is. It's like, why don't we bring more retail into our community and also offer like really beautiful, housing opportunities up above the businesses. And I'm just throwing it out there. I know what the needs of community are because I'm hearing it every day in my little shop. And I just hope that that bigger perspective of, okay, if we don't do an RV park because it isn't wanted by the community, what can he do on that piece of land that actually benefits us? And I think that's a really interesting question that I hope can be pursued.
Thank you. I did find your page. I do apologize. I know we spoke at 9 o'clock about this, so, yeah. Is there anyone else in the room? If I happen to have your piece of paper, don't see anybody. Say online. I want to thank folks for following online, and now we'll go through whoever's there with the raised hand feature. So it looks like there may be 4 total at this time. So you'll be brought into this Zoom call, and you'll be able to unmute yourself and turn on your video if you'd like. Welcome. Thank you.
Is it me that's talking now?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I think I was connecting and I didn't hear my name. I'm so sorry. My name is Medley Brandel and I live at 64593 Wood Avenue, right there behind the Tumalo Feed Company. I have lived on and off in Tumalo since 1996 when my mother came from the East Coast and bought a house in Tumalo. I am opposed to this proposed amendment to allow this kind of RV park. I would like to really address what I feel like I've heard several times is the Bend or Tumalo's need for RV parks, and I disagree with the word need. I think anybody who owns an RV generally, and I know that this, I guess I won't generalize it totally. I know people actually live in their RVs, but I think that's usually a luxury vehicle that people own. And I don't think we need to have more RV parks in Bend. I think it's a want. I think it's part of Bend's allure to have people come and visit here. I think if you have been around Tumalo much at all, you'll understand that Twin Bridges, where one of the previous people said, if people do float down, it gets out, you would take out at Twin Bridges. That used to be a lovely walk, Twin Bridges. And now it's just overrun with people and trash. People leave their floats, their foods, trash, everything. And I think having the RV park would just have a negative impact on the land near the river. I almost feel positive that it will produce more trash and more wear on the natural beauty and infrastructure of Tumalo. I think obviously traffic is part of that as well. I absolutely do not think this is the direction Tumalo should go in. I just think that Mr. Giesler has an opportunity to do something meaningful with this community that he says he's been a part of for so many years and all of that. I don't think he's showing, he's not listening to his community if he continues with this, trying to get this amendment approved. I don't think that he actually cares what this community is communicating with him. I'll stop there. I going to talk to me and I hop onto a meeting finally, but I'm glad I got a chance to speak. So I really appreciate you guys.
Thank you for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
And then next. So as I say, there's a moment when you're on the remote side where it just kind of goes quiet, but that means you're being transferred into the meeting and you'll be able to turn your microphone and video on.
Awesome.
Thank
Hopefully
you,
everyone can hear me.
Gabriel.
All
Please
right.
proceed.
Yeah, it's a little difficult. It's a little disingenuous. I feel like, Mr. Chang tells us this is about like a very specific change to the code and amendment to the tax code. And then we listen to Mr. Smith, the lawyer, give us 35 minutes on this one piece of property. And also the change, admittedly by him, is for one piece of property. So seems kind of to be one and the same. But I'll start with maybe some problems with some changes to the code, and then I'll probably drift into some site specific stuff.
You do introduction real quick, so you just got going.
I'm
but
so sorry.
Gabriel.
Yeah, my name is Gabriel Kohler. I live two houses from the property on Juniper Lane. I've been here for maybe 10 years. Have kids that go to the Tumalo Village School. But one thing, I was trying to get myself all caught up on all the technical stuff, and I was reading through the hearing officer's decisions. And one of the things I had a problem with was Exhibit B, the modified tax amendment standards. And this has to do with the wastewater. It talks about being located within the boundaries of a sanitary district. And this is, maybe I'm missing this, but it seems like right now the property is located within the boundaries of a sanitary district for which no sewer exists and for which no timeline exists for a sewer. So I'm going to echo Kelsey's thoughts about, like, we're kind of putting the cart before the horse here. Why are we approving, I know this isn't for this specific project, but why would you, it just needs to be more specific. There needs to be a sewer before anything is approved, if that makes sense. Like, it shouldn't say sanitary district, it should say sanitary facility. It seems to make more sense. The other problem I had with the code was with the transportation. I don't know why we need an amendment that takes away that verbiage about having direct access to an arterial or collector road. That seems pretty reasonable, and everyone that has problems with the traffic of this specific site, that's why that's in the code, is to alleviate these problems. We don't have, if you can just, otherwise you could just say, there's not a traffic problem, it meets the code standard. Whereas otherwise you're gonna have all these neighbors like myself saying, have you actually been to that that intersection? When you turn out on if you wanna go to Bend, you have to go to 7th Street, and then you can't see either way on Cook because of everyone that's parked roadside for the bite. It's a pretty dangerous intersection. I actually think about my kids learning to drive, and I'm like, they're gonna get nailed at this intersection. I know it, because you can't see. So yeah, those are the things for the code. I think the code is there for a reason, and I don't think we need to dumb it down. Like Mr. Smith said, RV parks are already allowed. So why do we need to make this exception for this one property? I think that is going against the whole point of having a code, honestly. And then a couple like site specific things, since he brought it up, like, oh, people are going to walk down to the river through the state park. Yes, that is state park property, but the state park doesn't have the resources to manage any of the property on this side of the river. It's like, it's just got trash everywhere. There's some nice trails. I go out with clippers and try to like keep the trail from getting grown in, and we pick up trash. But like the idea that then you're going to like introduce all these more people to accessing the river through the state park, that's not the state park that's further to the south, that's very manicured and cared for. So I think you're putting additional resources on the state park. So for this additional site, my concerns are like that access to the river there, as well as the traffic. Even in his traffic plan, Mr. Smith said, this one, this is here, and here's this yellow area. Well, guess what? The way people leave his building and go to Bend is right through the yellow area, or through his RV park. So
we need to wrap it up here. We're over 4 minutes.
All right. Well, I'm pretty much done. I'll just say You know, I spent a lot of time thinking, am I for or against? And I appreciate Mr. Chang's argument about like it could be a lot worse than an RV park. It could be light industrial, it could be 20 houses. But listening to these other people who are like, what if there was something that people actually wanted that helped the people of Tumalo that we could spend our dollars at? That would be awesome. So I think the code needs to get cleaned up, and nobody wants an RV park there except for Mr. Giesler. Thank you.
Thank you.
If I could just respond to Mr. Kohler's initial comment. So at the beginning, I was just trying to clarify, this is a hearing on an application to change code.
Yeah.
This is not a hearing on a specific development application, which there would be if this code was approved, if this code change was approved, and then the applicant wanted to proceed. So that just trying
I
to
appreciate
clarify
that.
that there's two steps, and we're only talking about step one now, and there would be a conditional use application to proceed with any kind of an RV park development.
Thank you. I understand that.
Thank you. And then one more. Okay, video's not stopped on our side. It looked like he was stopped.
Good morning. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you for joining us.
Awesome. Thank you. Good morning. My name is Kyle Fowler, and I own a property at 64795 Laidlaw Lane in Tumalo. I'm conscious of my time limit here, so I'd like to just read from a prepared statement if that's okay.
Sure.
Although we don't live in Tumalo today, I'm there every chance I get, and we will be moving back in 7 months to be closer to our parents, our siblings, and our 5th generation family farm. I'd like to begin by reading an excerpt from the summary page of the most recent draft of the Tumalo Community Plan. I quote, the Tumalo Community Plan is the result of extensive outreach and interaction between staff and residents, business owners, property owners in Tumalo, and those who live near Tumalo and shop, recreate, or send their children to school there. Nearly unanimously, residents spoke of their deep affection for Tumalo and a sense of place. They value the rural feel of Tumalo and appreciated the small-scale commercial core. Often they expressed a fear of not wanting Tumalo to become like Sisters or to be engulfed by Bend. These are not new sentiments. The 2011 version of the Tumalo Community Plan clearly stated at least twice that commercial uses should be considered for their potential negative impact on adjacent residents. All of this, it's no wonder that so many members of the Tumalo community have taken the time to write and testify in opposition to this proposed amendment, which would double down on Tumalo as an overnight vacation destination. It's a fact that Tumalo has fewer than 600 residents, and while it maintains its rural character, it is not some isolated dot on a map or rural service center which needs to provide a rest stop for weary travelers. That function is already well served by Bend, Sisters, and Redmond, and siting an RV park in Tumalo would immediately overwhelm tiny Tumalo as an overnight destination, swelling the summer and weekend population by 10 to 20% when fully occupied. None of these short-term inhabitants would have any vested interest in the livability or well-being of Tumalo. From my personal experience in the Crooked River RV Park and other mixed-use parks, I can tell you that irrespective of whatever rules are enacted, or whether travelers are on or off the RV park's premises, they are on vacation, and a percentage of them will act in ways which detract from or are detrimental to our community. While the final staff report states that an RV park is in compliance with many aspects of the county's comprehensive plan, it largely ignores the vision laid out in the Tumalo Community Plan and the voices of the people it will affect most. As you know, we're all here today because of a restrictive county code, which makes it very difficult for new RV parks to be feasible in Tumalo or elsewhere in the county. While more RV parks may be what the county wants, they are not needed in Tumalo. Rather than penalize your vocal constituents by allowing a single well-funded application to carve out an exception to the rules, we'd ask you to deny the current application and take the time to consider holistic code changes which would apply county-wide. By doing so, it is our belief that you'll find a multitude of better opportunities which support the traveling public and meet the county's objectives without fundamentally altering the character of Tumalo. In conclusion, we'd ask you to put yourselves in the shoes of your Tumalo constituents and take a moment to reflect on the golden rule of doing unto others as you'd have them do unto you. Thank you for your consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kyle.
Thank you.
All right. So is there anyone else online and this is your last opportunity to raise your hand then if somebody's not, if somebody is out there. Oh, there we go. So Christina will be joining us in the Zoom meeting. You'll be able to unmute yourself and even turn your video on. So Christine, you're in the Zoom call with us. You can unmute possibly. So it looks like we have confirmation you have been included here. Unmuting would be the next step. We had the raised hand feature working. Okay, Christine, this is the third call for you to be able to join us. And it looks like you're in our call here. So unmute and possibly turn your camera on. And, oh, there we go. Thanks for joining us. So we see you as unmuted, but yeah, if we're having technical problems, we may have to move on here. So yeah, we'll have a discussion about the record here. There may be another opportunity to send something in a written record. Sorry, we're not catching you on this call. Is there anyone else with the raised hand feature? Seeing none, opportunity for the applicant for rebuttal. Thank you, everybody, for sharing with us today.
We're now into afternoon. So good afternoon. I'll be as brief as possible. Please forgive if it's a bit piecemeal. I just wanted to respond to a number of the comments that we all heard today. So it may be a bit haphazard, but I do want to note a couple of different things. There was arguments initially that the text amendment doesn't benefit the community. It only benefits one person. I mean, if we rely on that logic, that's every single development proposal. Somebody needing a return on investment to justify moving forward with the development is not wrong. That's how development works. There was a question about potential code enforcement because of multiple business entities. We're well aware of the multiple business entities. We proposed the code language that requires one property or adjacent properties under common ownership. We will pretty easily put all the properties under common ownership if and when we're allowed to proceed with a conditional use permit. Lots of arguments still about traffic. I'll just summarily address those comments by noting two things. First, we have engaged the services of a traffic engineer who has studied the situation comprehensively. And the streets of Tumalo, according to our expert, can accommodate the traffic. Anecdotally, we know other people are able to pull their trailers, horse trailers, RVs through the same streets, and where there's a will, there's a way. This can be addressed. Second, actually I have 3 points, but second, more analysis will be required as part of the conditional use permit and potentially road improvements. That's how development works. And then last, there was some concern, why were we analyzing residential? Well, we didn't initially. The initial traffic analysis is of a reasonable mixed commercial development on the property. And residents during the hearing officer proceeding, or opponents, excuse me, criticized that, no, this should be used for residential, not commercial uses. So that's why we said, okay, we can also look at the residential. So we've studied both. We've looked at commercial, we've looked at residential. Takeaway on all the traffic issues, this is at this point a substantial evidence in the record issue. Our expert has demonstrated comprehensively that this can be done from a traffic perspective, and further improvements may be required in the future. There was comments that, the RV park would be adjacent to residential. Yeah, there's plenty of areas in Deschutes County, City of Bend, across the West as a whole, where you have a commercial district adjacent to a residential district. The new RV park in the south end of Bend is adjacent to residential. You work it out. That's where we look at compatibility features. We look at mitigation measures. There's things that can and should be done. It's not a reason to deny the application before you. Oh, sorry. Fourth thing on traffic. Somebody asked the question, what's going to happen if you go down Riverview? What are they going to do? Have signs? Yeah, that's exactly what we could do. You can have signs, you can put maps on the webpage. There are ways to mitigate that impact. Again, it's not a reason to deny the application. Again, a lot more conversation about Tumalo Community Plan. We keep hearing Tumalo Community Plan, Tumalo Community Plan. To my knowledge, nobody has cited, here's the provision of the Tumalo Community Plan that we are somehow violating by this proposal. And again, I would go back to reiterate comments that I made during my presentation. If RV parks were incompatible and this specific, the Tumalo Commercial District or Tumalo as a whole, then the county in the 90s would not have allowed RV parks with historic limitations. The way you address that situation is with a non-conforming use. You just treat them as non-conforming uses. The fact that the county did something different means something. And it means that they determined that they are compatible, but there are other limitations. There's other reasons why at that time RV parks were not feasible. We've addressed it. We're figuring out a way to make it feasible now. The sewer district is a big step in that direction. But if people have concerns with the Tumalo Community Plan, I would love specific citations. I would love the language. We would love to be able to respond, because we're not seeing anything in there that says that changing the nature of how a use that has always been allowed, will continue to be allowed, somehow violates the Tumalo Community Plan. There was a number of comments about concern with the river. I would note just comprehensively, the public has a right to use the river. Tumalo residents have a right to use the river. Deschutes County residents have a right to use the river. Residents coming to our community have a right to use the river. Trying to restrict access to one group over another, I would say, is again not a reason to deny the application. There was a comment that Tumalo is not the Tumalo community is not a vacation spot. I vehemently disagree. I will return to that concept here at the end. There's also comments about what uses what commercial uses does the Tumalo community need? I'm going to refer to my client on that one. He's owned commercial property in Tumalo for decades. He's had a business that he's leased, or he has a building that he's leased to different buildings over and over again. It is very hard to make a go of it in the Tumalo community with a commercial business that only caters to Tumalo residents. It's because of its small size. That's exactly why we're advocating for a change to the purpose statement for the uses within the Tumalo Community Plan. Because to make a go of it, to be economical, most businesses in Tumalo need to serve both the Tumalo residents and people passing through the area. I would note the bite, I would note the farm stand. Those are the type of uses that can make a go of it in Tumalo. And again, I would note that my client knows better than anybody else what types of businesses can be economically viable in Tumalo. There was a comment versus need versus want when it comes to RV parks. I'll return to this theme at the end, but I would say tourism is economic development in Central Oregon. They still go hand in hand. We haven't moved past that. So, when you're saying what is a need versus a want, we really need to keep our eye on the ball that these are economic development issues, that encouraging and finding ways to foster tourism is the definition, is the foundation still of economic development in our community. Also concerns that we were not listening to the community. We have listened to every member of the community who is willing to come and talk to us. And I would put that invitation out there again today. We would love to have more conversations. We have an opportunity. I mean, a lot of these kinds of issues you would normally address in a subsequent conditional use permit, but we're not opposed to codifying additional criteria to handcuff any future development in the Tumalo Commercial District. We're engaged. We're encouraging people to come. We believe wholeheartedly that there is a way to make this work. And we believe that the community as a whole needs these types of uses. And so we're encouraging everybody to come, reach out. I will talk to anybody. I've talked to numerous people who are opposed to this project. And that's the repeated question. What can we do to make it work? And if we need to, we'll codify it. Let's have a conversation. There's a way to make this work. There were some concerns with the sewer. I think that has been well documented and addressed by the hearing officer's decision. I'm not going to waste any more time getting into that today. There was a concern about why the change to the arterial or collector. And I'll note, first and foremost, the County Road Department is not opposed to our changes. Limiting RV parks to only arterial and collector streets is over-regulatory. It's classically over-regulatory. If you have a local access road that can meet the physical needs, why would you say no? To say that you can only do RV parks off of arterial or collectors is to say that arterials and collectors are a proxy for the road standards that you need for an RV. And that's just fundamentally not true. You can improve a local access road to accommodate an RV. That's exactly what our traffic engineer has demonstrated. So we're proposing a text amendment that's only applicable in the Tumalo commercial zone, but I would encourage the county commissioners to look at that language countywide. As noted, it's really hard to do RV parks in this community, but one dead in the water issue is that arterial or collector language across the entire county. We're being over-regulatory, and if you find the right property with the right circumstances, that can work, but it's access from a local access road. Even if the local access road can be improved to accommodate RVs, you can't do it. So that's why we're proposing to fix it. County Road Department's not opposed. So the last thing I'll say just in closing, there was a lot of comments about what does Tumalo want? What does Tumalo need? This function, I think they mean RV parks and tourism, temporary short-term recreation lodging is already served or is better served by Ben Sisters Redmond. I would argue that exact idea is putting the entrance of Tumalo residents over the questions and the concerns for the Deschutes County community as a whole. And that's a key assessment. We're one community. We're one Deschutes County community. We are all in this together. We are all impacted by dispersed camping on Deschutes National Forest that can cause a wildfire that impacts the community as a whole. We're all impacted by economic development issues, and as the county's own study documented, the lack of this type of lodging is having an impact on tourism, which is still foundation for our community. So if this was a situation where it has been well documented for decades that, yeah, RV parks just can't work in Tumalo, then maybe it would be a different story. But that's not the situation we're in. We have a situation where RV parks have been allowed under a certain type of parameter, and we're proposing to change those parameters. Happy to address any final questions or final comments. Thoughts?
I do have a question or two about the transportation question. So one of the people who gave public comment asked whether there would be limitations on the size of RVs that are allowed to use the RV park. I don't know whether you're far enough along in developing your concept to be able to speak to that, but or whether you want to. I'm not a road or traffic engineer, so like I don't have a good sense of the the dimensions of roads that are necessary to accommodate large size RVs. But do you want to make any comments about that, about vehicle lengths and what is possible?
Yes, thank you. I noted the same question and took a note, and to talk with my clients, we were huddling on that exact issue. I think your comment about are we far enough along in the development process to address that is absolutely true. We're happy to try and take our concept a little bit further if we want to put a code provision that limits the length of RVs in the code, if that's a key consideration, or that's something that can undeniably be addressed during a conditional use permit, right? If the turning movements of, say, for example, the access into the park from the north can only accommodate a 40-foot long RV, and that's a condition of approval, then you can easily solve that as part of a conditional use permit. But my clients and I did huddle, and if that's a key consideration for the commissioners, we will absolutely take that idea further, look at it, and propose some additional code language.
That would be one way of approaching it. I mean, another one of the other public commenters asked about whether the applicant would be paying for infrastructure improvements that are necessary to accommodate the kinds of vehicles, the kind of traffic that you foresee using the RV park. So do you want to make any comments about, I assume that would flow out of a conditional use application process?
Yes, absolutely. We have studied the traffic impacts from a conceptual level, and then we've taken an additional step to look at, let's compare residential versus the RV park. And conceptually, the roads could work. They may require additional improvements in the future. So if and when we come forward with an RV park or a conditional use permit for an RV park, then we would absolutely need to take that preliminary traffic engineering to the next level. And if turning movements could not be accommodated and improvements were required, that would absolutely could be a condition of approval that the county could require, and we would have to improve a road, for example. That's the normal path of development.
And will that, we heard about how you can't just get on 8th and get into the roundabout to get onto Highway 20. You would need to come farther into the core of Tumalo and then figure out how to come back. Would your analysis, the conditions that you are open to extend that far away from the site of the proposed development?
I think absolutely. And my recollection is our initial traffic analysis notes the very same thing.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for your rebuttal. There hasn't been any mention of you keeping a record open. Do you have any thoughts as the applicant?
The only thing so first of all, we submitted something into the record yesterday that we think captures everything, even the comments from opponents today. The one issue were a couple of questions from Commissioner Chang. We're not opposed to leaving the record open so we can answer those questions if those are game changers, if they're dispositive of anything for Commissioner Chang, or the other. If there's anything else you would like us to address, we're willing to leave the record open so that we could do so. Absent that, we're confident that we've already built a record as of our submittal yesterday that addresses all issues and would support a decision approving the text amendment from the commissioners. So I'll put that question back to the commissioner.
Yep, understood. Okay, so as I say, we haven't really heard a request for it per se, so it's up to us.
I mean, I feel like I asked my questions. There was an openness indicated to either changes to the code requests to reflect restrictions on vehicle lengths, or through a conditional a conditional use application process committing to various kinds of infrastructure improvements that would be needed to make this all work.
With
So
that,
I don't need additional information.
you had also asked before about other uses, other commercial uses, and would those be potentially more impactful? And my hunch is yes, but we haven't analyzed those, and we're happy to do so if that helps the commissioners.
I wanted to just emphasize to people that this is a thriving community, and open commercial land in a thriving community will be used for something. So I don't think you need to go through that unless I mean, if the applicant would like to provide that information, you could provide that in if we left the written record open for a little bit, something like that.
Well, so let me put a few thoughts out here. So these are small lots. This is an original plat from way before Deschutes County. Yeah, before Deschutes County was a county. In fact, these are very small lots, and obviously sewer is the function. This is real close to the river. This whole area here, and then also the markets, the commercial activity for different businesses that come and go. There's a lot of history and opinions on all sides here. So I guess I'm working through the process of, do we need more information here or not? So any thoughts about keeping the record open, Commissioner Dare?
I'm fine with keeping the record open if you want to keep the record open. Why don't you bring your horse trailer up and drive around and see how it goes, Commissioner DeBonne? Because I drive those little streets. There aren't sidewalks on them. Wharton, and we were hearing this morning that kids are definitely walking in that area. So it looks like the RV park would either need to make a little left to go down Wharton, because definitely making a left out on Cook to get back on Highway 20 is going to be incredibly difficult. Parking in Tumalo is at a premium most of the time when I'm driving through, but I completely appreciate all the people that took their time to come in and talk about the rural community of Tumalo. And that's why I moved back to Oregon. I'm a native, and I really always appreciate rural. We keep going forward, but rural really gives people a lot of peace. And I really appreciate, the over 100 people that have testified on this issue. It's clearly it's at the heart of Tumalo. The
So you're-
direction we
You're
go.
happy to leave the record open, but
I can-
I don't know that there's a reason to. It's
Okay,
kind of what
I'm saying
either way.
yeah.
Any clarity from your point of view?
Yeah, I don't need to leave the record open. I mean, if the applicant wants to provide more information on other allowable uses in the commercial zone, that I'd be happy to see that as well. But or if there are other community members who want to weigh in on this, I feel like the input we've received has been just very shortly before this hearing. So there may be people who heard about this, didn't have their chance to provide input yet.
And I would always want to hear from people.
Yeah.
Fact that there's over 100 people now in the record, Audrey?
96.
6 is what you said, but then somebody else testified 100 and some this morning, so.
And I do want to note for the open record discussion, I have been receiving emails during this.
Right.
Okay, there you go. That kind of answers it right there.
Yeah.
So
let's leave the record open, standard process. I was looking for a hook to it, and that was it.
We're happy to.
Yep. Okay. So we're talking about a 7-day period for new information, 7 days response for anything substantive by parties involved, and then a final rebuttal statement by the applicant. So there we go.
777.
Thank you, Commissioner. So I'll go over some
we
information
go.
on this open record period. So new evidence and testimony can be submitted up until 4 p.m. on Wednesday, October 29th. Rebuttal testimony can be submitted up until 4 p.m. on Wednesday, November 5th. And the applicant has until 4 p.m. on Wednesday, November 12th to submit their final legal argument. Now that the open record period is set, staff would like to provide instructions for submittals. Please keep in mind that all submittals should be addressed to me. For email submittals, use my email address, audrey.stewart@deschutes.org. Any electronic submittals must be received by the county server by 4 p.m. Please do not wait until the last minute to submit your evidence and testimony. And please note that staff will not retrieve information from a website link or a personal cloud storage service. And those are the ends of my comments.
Great. Okay, so we will have this open record period. Thank you, everybody, for the engagement today. This is a engaging process, obviously. Any other thoughts from the other commissioners?
So Audrey, then, because the following week is AOC, so then we would have come back with our decision, what, 2 weeks after the final?
Normally, just with getting the board's agenda packet submitted, it's about 2 weeks after the final legal argument is the soonest that we would hold deliberation.
Okay, all right, that's what I was thinking. Thank
So
you.
the oral portion of this hearing is closed. We are treating this as quasi-judicial process, so let's stay within this process so there's no challenges for how this has happened, but we'll go with a 7-day window of new information now.
I just had one more kind of procedural question, which I hope is okay to add after we just closed. But Audrey, I'd like to understand. So oftentimes when we do quasi-judicial decisions on specific development applications, we get a decision matrix that has some criteria laid out. This is more of a legislative matter. Is this matrixable, or are we coming at the end of this process to a more open-ended kind of discussion?
That's an excellent question. That decision matrix doesn't come from our code or our procedures ordinance. We've just found for quasi-judicial matters, it's really helpful to kind of lay out all the decision points for the board. So if it's something that there is board interest in, I could lay that out more as certain like issue areas that were raised. And that's one that I would really be open to direction from the board on.
I
Yeah, thank you very much for
Yeah.
joining us. Oh,
um
boy. Will looks like he's hit.
I think it's helpful to be kind of comprehensive and thorough, to have issues laid out that way. And I'd also like to, that there's some kind of larger policy questions that are tied up in this that I wouldn't want a matrix like that to confine us from talking about like how much do we actually need campgrounds or RV parks in the county in this specific place. That's a tension point. So I think I like the idea of a matrix as long as it doesn't confine us to only talking about what's in the matrix.
No need to get engaged at that point. Okay. So good discussion. Anything else? Seeing none, as I say, we'll be done with that matter. This is that was the end of our agenda. Are there other items for today? Any updates? Had the housing tour with the builders, the governor, the legislators, a couple of senators were there. We saw properties on the east side of Bend, 4079 lands being brought in from about 8, 9 years ago was a legislative effort, and other parcels. We went to Sisters, saw the rezoned land and their update on their UGB process. So Governor was engaged with us, multiple stops, so that was good to have her there. And the DLCD director, Dr. Bateman, was there. So very substantive meeting on Monday. I think all three of us were there.
I think we were.
Yep.
Yep. I'll just mention that last week later in the week last week, we had, I met with a representative from COID and a couple of representatives from the city of Bend, just to talk a little bit more about the, our coordination on addressing potential impacts and negative impacts out in the temporary safe stay area. And also just we had a broader discussion about the negative impacts of that unsheltered homelessness are having on COID, on their other properties as well. And kind of how we could all work together to reduce unsheltered homelessness so that we're all experiencing less impacts. And maybe, kind of developing facilities in places where they are not as, it's not as impactful.
Great. Anything else?
I'm going to the BurnBot demonstration tomorrow.
BurnBot.
Yes, it's me.
Okay. Seeing nothing else, meeting adjourned, and we'll get out of here for our DMAC committee.
Oh,
Yep.